society by what it makes, but rather by what it throws away. Which
That's a good way to judge.
so nobody else is saying anything.
We've had more conversation than the last couple times.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yes. Mark comments, it seems that we're adept at throwing away people, certainly recently.
That's our expendable resource at this point. We throw them away in prison. We throw them away into poverty. We throw them away any way we can, just away, away, away. We extract their life force and call it employment. There's so many things that are wrong with the structures. And I see, yeah. So I judge us by throwing people away right and left.
I see more and more stuff going out for recycle, maybe in the pandemic. People have so much stuff out with their garbage every week. It's unreal. Just unreal what people are ordering and getting delivered.
Because it's easy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's the only way to get certain things. I don't know.
I don't know. I go to the food co-op. I did just learn yesterday that they have 75 employees at the food co-op and they have had 0 COVID positives.
Wow.
I go there with my Breathe 99 mask. Next week I may be talking to their manager about getting them for their employees, but that's pretty good. They have good policies and responsible people who work and shop there.
Yeah, well, the customers who shop there are all, flaming liberals who wear masks. So
yeah, and
gee,
that's all it takes.
Don't they have a
it may
cop at
not
the
be
door
all
too?
it takes, but it certainly helps, I think.
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Don't they have like a security person at the door telling you to wear a mask and he's got a gun on his hip?
He's
No, he
just
doesn't
there
have a gun.
counting. He's
Okay.
just there counting because they have a limit of how many people in the store at any given time.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I think it's gone up to 20 at this point.
Yeah, it was 15 early on and now it's 20 and people are just generally responsible.
Maren, I feel like this mask, your B, what is it, 99
Breathe
mask?
99, yeah.
That this is like a game changer for people to have a silicone seal around your face instead of some, instead of just a cloth with replaceable cheap little filters is, it feels like, for all of the challenges and ineffectiveness of masks, it really does turn it from a I protect you mask into a I protect you and I protect me mask.
Yep.
And given the
And they're much more
prevalence,
comfortable than almost any other mask.
oh, you've had one too?
More comfortable than the
Yeah.
cloth masks that Keelan makes, but just more effective. So I use Keelan's various cloth masks when I'm outside.
Yeah.
And our bunch of people come down and hang out at the bottom of our street every Friday evening, and mostly we're pretty well distanced. As the numbers have gone up, we've resumed the mask wearing anyway. But in that situation, or at the Garden Resource Center, I just wear a cloth mask. But going into a store, which these days is mostly the food co-op, I wear the Breathe 99 and feel really much more confident.
I wear that with goggles.
Yeah, and there's some people still going around with just a face shield, which will protect you somewhat from the same things that goggles will, which is basically someone sneezing in your eyes. But they're not really effective, as we talked about last week. And for once, I finally put the Salon video online. So I have a link to that.
Speaking of which, shall I record? Should I hit record?
May as well. Yeah, just for good measure. I have it going here, but our internet.
You have to give me permission.
Oh, yes. If anybody, I'll make you co-host. Co-host. And then I don't know if yeah, okay, then you can. Oh my goodness, there's an allow to type closed caption.
Oh yeah, you can have someone do closed captioning.
Wow,
I have
could
an automatic
I type
closed-
really fast, so I could drum up a land office business in that.
When I'm a host, I use a rev.com subscription transcription that if you're not live streaming out to Facebook, you can just have it auto transcribe your whole Zoom call. Yeah, $20 a month.
All right, let me...
Yeah, typing is so 2010. I'm kidding. I'm actually quite grateful at the amount of note typing that you take.
It started around 1978. I took one personal typing class in high school, during which I hired myself out to type a few friends' papers as well as my own. And then there was college and papers, and during which I was still taking notes by hand. And then grad school, still taking notes by hand, but typing papers, a 350-page thesis later, I type really fast.
Yeah, you type you're like the scribe of the movement.
Okay, and let's see. And Eric Garrett, remind me who's there with you?
Hi, Patricia and Eric.
Oh, okay, great. I recognized your face, and he's in shadow, and I didn't remember his name. I probably just misspelled your name. I do like to keep track. So it is just past 4. So I guess I will get us started. So welcome everyone to the 107th Sustainability Salon. This time we are oh, thank you. This time, now everybody should mute. This time we should, and let me check something. This time we are returning to, oh, and actually before I get started, there's a number ending in 8902. Who is that, pray tell? Let's see, I will unmute you just in case that helps. Can you say who you are?
Maren, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, this is Becca.
Oh, okay,
so
great.
the email that I received, I thought this was a Zoom meeting, but I don't have any link that I can use to connect on Zoom on my iPad. So I went to my iPhone and did this one tap, and this only gives me sound.
Well, yeah, that's a problem. Did I get you? I think I sent you the information.
Yeah, this is the confirmation.
Okay. Is anybody
email.
else on an iPad? I haven't really done much Zooming on iPad so far.
I wonder if I could just enter
Mark?
the meeting ID.
I'm on a mini iPad.
Okay.
I clicked on the link in your email and it came right up. I didn't even have to put whatever it is, ID, caller ID, whatever it is, meeting ID in there. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But yes, my iPad, it has a Zoom link on the home page, which you can download for free, but I don't know if that's necessary because I just clicked on your link in your email.
Okay, well, I know I've seen you, Becca, at Zoom meetings, so.
She has to click on the second link, not the first link. The first link is a phone number. The second link is the Zoom meeting.
Oh, it says join from PC, Mac, and then farther down the list is iOS. That's the link that I need to click.
Okay,
Not the
all
one
right.
that says iPhone one tap. Okay, I think I understand now. So I will hang up this call and do that.
You got it. Yeah, I just did click
Thank
here to join, and it went straight into Zoom on my iPad. It's way to go, crowd.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Yes, excellent crowdsourced solutions. Okay, well, we are rolling. Welcome again to the 107th Sustainability Salon, wherein we will return to the annual early December topic of consumption. And we are not returning to my customary winter film screenings, because whether I may or may not do a film in some of the January or February ones, but I think so many people are just so Zoom exhausted, and there are other groups that are doing film screenings. Center for Coalfield Justice and Better Path and all these other groups are doing film screenings. And I think what makes salons unique is the community that we're centered with. So let's see. So if a film is perfect for a topic that I choose for one of the next couple months, I might do the watch beforehand film screening model. But for now, I'm not bothering with a film. Most of us have seen Story of Plastic, which I might have worked up a screening situation for, but it's been screened so many times by so many different groups that I think most of the salon audience has probably seen it. It's definitely a great film to watch if you haven't. In the past, we've shown Plastic Paradise, and there's quite a few great films out, but I think what we want to do is highlight local people and local projects and local issues, and so we're going to not worry about the film. The fact that this room is very well daylit and films look better in the winter, we're just not going to worry about. So so anyway, we're here, we're in December. We're in a new regime with the pandemic, and we have, as we were chatting earlier, people were commenting about the amount of stuff that a lot of Pittsburghers and others are ordering by mail, ordering from Amazon, and that's certainly convenient, but it makes it very easy to get stuff that you don't need. People feel obligated to give gifts at holidays, and how often is that something that the person doesn't actually need, that they won't actually use? Do they want to maintain a connection with you? That's a very different question than whether they need something from you. A thing, an object, a candle, something that is manufactured out of natural resources and energy and water, and that can't be turned back into into nature. So so my nefarious goal in having this topic every early December is to send people forth into the holiday season ready to buy less stuff. So perhaps many of you are already on this bandwagon, and we can all share ideas. I have some folks who have thought about it a lot, and we'll share ideas and mechanisms of how to have less stuff in our lives as gift givings, less stuff in our lives as how we're living. I have a lot of stuff, although most of it wasn't bought new. because I'm constitutionally incapable of even seeing anything get tossed out that might ever be useful to anyone, and I am very slow about the rerouting of things. So there's definitely too much stuff in my house, and I'm hoping to work on it. And in fact, getting organized about that, there's a new, not actually that new, but a tool that many folks are discovering. And so for a while, there's been FreeCycle and Craigslist, and now there's Facebook has a way to give away or sell things, and Nextdoor has a way to give away or sell things. But there's a particular movement or mechanism that is not just about rehoming stuff and keeping stuff in use rather than being thrown away and tossed in a landfill, or at best recycled, maybe, as we've talked about before. But it is also aiming to build local community, because that is how we as a society are going to survive going forward, is by having local self-reliance. It's not going to be possible to ship everything around the world when energy becomes, well, it's not going to be feasible or economical to ship everything around the world once energy prices reflect the true environmental and health and climate costs of production. So, anyway, so this is a great structure, mechanism, group, movement called the Buy Nothing Movement, which was started by a couple of women in the Pacific Northwest on Bainbridge Island. And there are local groups in a lot of places all around, including quite a few here in Pittsburgh. I don't know if there's one up in Northampton where Carla is, or Boston where Carrie and Ed are, but I sort of assume they are. And we are very fortunate to have with us the leader, or one of the group admins of the very local, we live in the neighborhood of Squirrel Hill, and there was a group that was sort of Squirrel Hill, Shadyside, Greenfield, Hazelwood, and it became so active and so full of stuff, and things just went by so fast that it splintered and got even more local. So now Squirrel Hill South is its own group, and Cosette Cornelius-Bates is here, and let me make you co-host also.
Great.
And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for taking on the leadership role in this wonderful, wonderful group, movement, whatever it's called, project. The Buy Nothing Project.
It's a bunch of things. Is
what it's called, and I should let you explain it and talk about it, and you can share screen as needed. And everybody is I think very interested to find out more about it.
Great.
And I know that some of the other participants today have already participated, because I've seen their names go by
Totally.
on the Facebook group. So anyway, so yes, thank you, Cozy, and take it away.
It's great to be here. I have two children, and my youngest one entered kindergarten not this November that just passed, but the November before. He was in kindergarten, and I was like, a friend of mine had brought up the Buy Nothing Project to me a few years before, but we both had small kids. She lives in Hazelwood, and we just didn't get around to actually doing anything about it. And then my child entered kindergarten, and I was like, hey, seems like time to, start a community group of some sort. So I picked up the thread that we had talked about a few years ago, and I just did it. They have extensive training where you kind of learn how to be an admin. So I did the training and I busted out in like 3 days and just opened up the Shadyside, Squirrel Hill, Greenfield, Hazelwood group. Generally speaking, we're pretty dense. There are 28,000 people in Squirrel Hill alone. But generally speaking, when you start a Buy Nothing group, you will not need to break into smaller groups until quite a ways down the road. But ours, because of the pandemic, I think mostly, and maybe it was just an area that was really ripe for people really wanting to do something like this. Ours immediately, it just started, once the pandemic hit, it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we pretty much maxed out before our first year was over. And so that's when we decided to split into 3 after looking at socioeconomics and a bunch of other things and kind of looking at the whole like geography, which defines Pittsburgh because of all the hills and everything else that was going on. It's how we ended up splitting. And the split has gone really well and all the groups are still really active, and it's still one of my highlights of the pandemic for sure. And I know a lot of my friends would say the same. All right, I'm gonna screen share because I think the Buy Nothing project started in 2013. So I feel like their words about the group are really well thought out. So I'm gonna bring up like their mission and some stuff like that, screen sharing, and then I will talk about each one. There we go. All right, so in the Buy Nothing project, if you look at their mission, they offer a way to give, receive, share, lend, and express gratitude through a worldwide network of hyper-local gift economies, in which the true wealth is the web of connections formed between people who are real-life neighbors. So even though the Buy Nothing project is you organizing your house and getting rid of stuff and rehoming it to a home that will actually use it, whereas sometimes that's a little less reliable when it comes to things like thrift stores. Even though I love thrift stores, this seems to me a more direct and more reliable way to actually rehome something and know that it's being used by somebody who really wants it. And I value that very much. I have lots of things that I've held on to for long periods of time waiting for the perfect person that I can pass it on to, because they're just things that you're like, somebody's gonna love this. It's not me right now, so I will just wait. But Buy Nothing has let me get a lot of that stuff out of my house. And in the meantime, since Buy Nothing is not really about the stuff, it's about the connections you make with your neighbors while exchanging the stuff. I have made a lot of really wonderful friends. We can't chat very much right now or get together very much right now or meet each other when we do pickups right now. But I feel very close to many of the people. I know I've lived in Squirrel Hill for 12 years, and I didn't really, before Buy Nothing, my block is a lot of renters, granted, but I didn't know that many people on my block really before Buy Nothing. And since then, several people on my block have joined and they walk by my house and we talk, and it's truly made my experience of my neighborhood a deeper experience. All right, so when you join Buy Nothing, you're always giving freely. There are no strings attached. It says share creatively. Post anything you would like to give away, lend, or share among neighbors. Ask for anything you'd like to receive for free or borrow. And then they have to obey the Facebook laws. So keep it legal, keep it civil, no buying and then also no buying or selling, bartering or trading, and no solicitations for cash. So they would describe themselves as a hyper-local gift economy, where the value is definitely the connections that you make throughout your neighborhood rather than in the stuff that you are giving. Although I've gotten some pretty great stuff from Buy Nothing, I have to say. Useful things that I needed right then. All right, so these are the Buy Nothing principles. I just feel that they've been around long enough that they have thought everything out so well. So I'll read these and then I'll extrapolate as we go. We believe our hyperlocal groups strengthen the social fabric of their communities and ensure the health and vitality of each member. Especially during the pandemic, I feel like it's nice. People don't want to go places. They want to go, they'd rather not go to stores. Like, it's been a really, lots of people always say, well, before I go buy this, I thought I would ask here. And oftentimes other people will have it for them. It's been a really nice way for the community to join together. And I feel like I've met so many people through Buy Nothing who I've never met face to face yet. It's been and I walk around the neighborhood because that's the benefit of being small, right? I walk around the neighborhood to get anything that we end up picking up. And I'm like, oh, she lives in this house with this. I knew this house existed. Like, I'm actually connecting people to their actual houses.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay, so Buy Nothing believes we come from a place of abundance, not scarcity. And they believe, and I believe, that every neighborhood has its own abundance and that no particular item is worth more or less than another item. And in that way, I love how the Buy Nothing project subverts the dominant paradigm that something is worth more than something else. What really makes it worthwhile is that you are passing it on to someone and that person needs it. And that's what makes things worthwhile in the Buy Nothing project. Not whether you have a $500 coffee table, but more that you have a $500 coffee table that's fulfilling a need of another person in the group. The coffee table is beside the point. I give things from my garden all the time, which are probably not worth much. Like, anyone want to come cut some lemon balm? And then people just stop by my front yard and cut down the lemon balm, which, you know, is worth less than your $500 coffee table, but maybe not to that person. So they're trying to like subvert what we think of as valuable and worthwhile. Let's see. We believe in abundance. We give, we ask, we share, we lend, and we express gratitude. I can't tell you how many times I have lent the folding tables in my basement to people in the neighborhood and then gotten them back a few months later. I like that there's a group that I feel that I can trust most of the people in because we feel like we have woven a community. And so I have no problem at all lending things within this group. It's a really sweet group. We are a gift economy, not a charity. We see no difference between want and need and waste and treasure. We do not buy, sell, trade, barter, or otherwise exchange money for items or services. We measure wealth by the personal connections made by the trust between people, which we talked about. I want to talk a little bit more about trust, I think, though. So the way that Buy Nothing builds trust, because if you find a group and you want to join it, you'll need to know how they go about this. All the conversations happen in the open. So you put up a gift, people talk about it and converse about it, and we do a thing called letting it simmer. And letting it simmer means you let it sit for at least a little while so more people can see it. Not everyone's on their computer all the time. Not everyone's on their device all the time. Not everyone's hooked into the internet constantly. So this allows more people in the neighborhood to see things. And when I give, I take into account whether I've given to a person before. If I've never given to you before and you're interested in something, along with a bunch of other people I've already given to, I'm more likely to give it to you, to build that network of community rather than giving it to the first person, which is what most free sites will do. So conversation happens in the open. Also, my favorite rule ever in any group on the internet is no messaging people without their permission. That's another big Buy Nothing rule. So all communication until the pickup stage happens in the open, and then you aren't allowed to message people without asking. So you would have to ask in the open whether you can message a person or not. We also do a funny thing that people think is weird, where we don't delete our actual posts. So the posts stay up forever. You can edit them and say given or whatever you want, but we try to keep the posts up because that is our community narrative that we are building through this community group. All right, let's see. We value people and their stories and narratives above stuff. Today, somebody put up a pair of snow pants for like a 10 to 12-year-old child. And I was like, who was looking for snow pants? And before I could even figure it out, somebody else had tagged the person who had been looking for snow pants. And so as we get to know each other and we know like what people might want or need or what people have been looking for, everybody in the community, it's not just the admins who start picking up the slack and like educating other people and helping other people to find the things they need in the community. It was a really sweet moment. I was like, hey, I didn't even get to search for that. And she was like, I remembered. Let's see. We are inclusive at our core, and we value honesty and integrity in all of our interactions. That's key to being any sort of a community group where you need to have trust in order to function. So that's another reason why we keep everything in the open, is so that people can see how other people interact with each other and build that trust and honesty. We view all gifts as equal, and the human connection is the value, and we believe every community has the same wealth of generosity and abundance. My lemon balm is worth as much as that coffee table. It's all in context. All right. Now, as for Pittsburgh, this is a map. Make it a little smaller, the whole thing on the page. This is a map of the Pittsburgh area and all of the Buy Nothing groups in our area. We just got a brand new one in Munhall Homestead, south of us, which is super exciting. And they seem to be, we've been getting new groups pretty regularly lately. There's another person who wants to start a group in that gap right below the 376, but she's looking for somebody to help her start it. So if anyone's interested in living in that area, let's talk about that for a second. So Buy Nothing is give where you live. So you only belong to one Buy Nothing project group, so that you can fully participate and be a part of that community. So I'm Squirrel Hill South, so I wouldn't be allowed to belong to the Greenfield group or the Squirrel Hill North group. You just give right where you are with your actual neighbors. I'm gonna move this up a little. Here is, if you need to find a group in Pennsylvania, I put the web address down there. You just go, you can also Google Buy Nothing Project Find a Group, and it'll take you right to the page where you can search for a group in your area. Anyway, let's see. So when you join, I'll give you a little bit of what it's like to join the Buy Nothing Project, and I'm gonna leave that map up in case you want to look at it. So when you join the Buy Nothing Project, you have to answer a couple questions. Are you over either 18 or 21, depending upon the group? Have you been in a Buy Nothing project before, and are you in one now? And what's an intersection near your house, just to plant you in the neighborhood somewhere? When you get into the group, the things that that you're allowed to post are gives, something you want to give away, or something you want to share or lend, and asks, something that you're looking for that you think a neighbor might have that they might be able to give to you, and gratitudes, which are by far the best part of the Buy Nothing project. Whenever I find, I don't necessarily do it right away, but whenever I find that we're using something a lot that I picked up over Buy Nothing, I try to snap a photo of us using it so that I can share it with the group. And it's really a wonderful way for the community to build even deeper. All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing, and if anyone has any questions, we can do a question and answer.
Hi, yeah, I had a question. I live in kind of the urban North Huntington area, so I'm not in any kind of Buy Nothing groups radius, and I had actually looked into doing the training and starting one. I was kind of deterred by the fact that it says it'll be about 15 minutes to an hour a day. What's been your kind of estimated time commitment as like the leader of the group?
All right, so the good thing about starting a group, here, let me get a drink of water.
Okay, yeah.
So I can still talk. The good thing about starting the group is the group grows with you.
Okay.
So it's small when you start it, right? So it's just you and like your friends, really, or like your like neighbors who you accidentally found, or you advertise a little bit on Nextdoor.
Okay.
It, by the way, has never turned Nextdoor-like, which has been very nice, even though I always have people throw it up every once in a while. Anyway, I'd say after the initial
Sure.
Yeah, it's totally, so it's almost better. So one of the other groups in Pittsburgh had somebody took it over and she wasn't the original person and there were like 800 people in it already. I think that would be way more intimidating than actually starting one.
I was like, I'm not sure that I can commit an hour a day and I don't want to like get into, but it's okay.
Yeah, you don't need an hour a day, I don't think. Plus with your initial people who come in, if you can get them trained well in the Buy Nothing methodology, they will help you.
Okay.
They will tell other people how to do things and like help out with it, which has been really handy. I have a lot of people who are in it like from the first like month or two, and they're always helpful when people ask questions if I'm not around.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There is another question from Molly. Hello, could you screen share what your chat app page looks like? Would that be possible? Can you like put up a screen share of the what the page looks like when you get there?
Buy Nothing?
Yeah, the Facebook group, the local Facebook group.
I can. I don't know how to screenshot on this computer actually.
Oh, here.
Screen share.
Oh, screen share. Oh, maybe. Give me a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I could also, but you.
Yeah, just a minute. Let me.
Probably more alert to it.
Let's see. Okay, that's the Zoom. Let's go to Buy Nothing. I know I'm screen sharing. Get out of my way. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
I haven't done screen sharing much, so this is new to me.
I could share mine pretty easily.
Okay, this is the Squirrel Hill South group.
That's where I live.
And we just got some rules at the top and stuff like that. Is that what you would like? Did you need something else?
Yes.
Yeah, and just show a couple of things
Posts.
that were.
You want to see a couple of posts?
Transferred.
Let's see. Let me find one that recently went up and went. I should find that one, that pair of snow pants I talked about.
Was that it?
No, it's this one. So this is a friend of mine actually, which is why I'll share hers. This is my friend Marnie, and she put up these snow pants. Basically, when you put something up, you want to say, like always, like condition, size, if it has a size. And generally speaking, we try to put, even though we're a smaller neighborhood group now, we still try to say where we are in the neighborhood. So she's near Colfax. And usually whether we have pets and whether there are stairs for accessibility and things like that. So we try to have kind of a robust description. Not everybody does it, but we try to encourage it. So anyway, this was Marnie's, and then Bia immediately tagged somebody else who she thought could use them, and she was like, yes. But it's a nice example of the community building itself after you get going for a while. People start getting to know each other really well.
Another question, if you're not on Facebook, is it possible to still join? I'm guessing since it's a Facebook group, no.
Correct. Here's the deal. So they would like to get it off Facebook, but it's a completely grassroots and all volunteer organization. So they started doing some fundraising to try to make their own platform, which I think is awesome. But then the pandemic hit, and so they've kind of backed off that. But there is hope that at some point there will be a way to access Buy Nothing. This would be amazing. There would be a way to access Buy Nothing without Facebook. That would be ideal.
Comment from Mayor. It really helps to delete an item once it's been given to make it easier to find what's still available. You may have a reflection on that.
Yeah, we just edit them, I think. We edit them and we say given when something's been given. A lot of the stuff, if it's really far down, probably has been given to a thrift store or something like that. And the reason we keep that is because it is part of the building of our community and our shared narrative together in the group. So they keep it, that's why they recommend that we keep them. So we never, and our group isn't big enough for it to move fast enough for people to lose things necessarily yet, because we aren't the large group that we were earlier.
If you had your own platform, you could have a thing where people could filter by status.
I don't know what their plan was for the thing, but let's hope there's lots of fancy bells and whistles.
Just enough bells and whistles.
Right, so that it would be accessible and easy to use.
Yep, I just submitted my application to join the Squirrel Hill South group.
Ah, perfect. I will probably let you in when we are done here.
I don't see any other questions. Maren, go ahead.
One possible way to address that would be if you have an item that you're offering and it's still available, despite having some time gone by, you could edit it to have a keyword "still available," or just edit it just available, and then people, if they want, that would effectively filter, and it would probably, searching for that, just as you search for snow pants, probably offer them in time order or something. So I mean, that would just be an innovation that you may or may not want to.
That's a great idea. So I did not mention that we have 2 more groups that grew out of our Buy Nothing group. So we when we made our Buy Nothing group, it doesn't allow for community announcements and things like that, because there are lots of community groups like Nextdoor that already do that. But we made one out of Buy Nothing. So if you belong to the Buy Nothing group, you can join the community group, which includes the 3 groups that I started, and then also the Highland Park group, which is Highland Park all the way to Morningside. Like, it's Highland Park, Morningside, and all the way around down to Bloomfield. Like, it's a huge swath of area. So we have a community group where people can post, pets that they found or lost, or other community things that are going on that they aren't allowed in the regular Buy Nothing group. And we actually just created something called Second Chance, which if you've already put something up in your smaller local Buy Nothing and nobody has taken it, you can go ahead and put it in the Second Chance group if it's been like a few days. And Second Chance just means that you're opening it up to the other to all 3 of the groups again. So it includes Shadyside, Bakery Square, North Squirrel, South Squirrel, Greenfield, Hazelwood. So we decided to do that. Partially Constance, she was one of my first admin that joined in with me. She was like, I do not want to take this stuff to the thrift store during the pandemic when there are less people shopping, and I don't want it all to get thrown away. So we just were like, let's just create a Second Chance group where people can just throw the stuff up if nobody took it in their group. So it's been successful so far. A bunch of stuff has gone within the last day since we've made it.
Yeah. Is that an innovation in this area? Because it's a really good idea that addresses, I mean, one question that I had is if you shrink it so that it is a manageable traffic level, then you lose some of the economies of scale of reaching more people who might need that thing.
Right.
And also you lose the ability to cross boundaries of neighborhoods and, have the affluent people sharing with the less affluent people.
Yeah.
I mean, I shop at thrift stores and take stuff to thrift stores and take stuff, mostly I take stuff to Braddock Free Store. But sometimes, so I operate on both sides of that, but mostly it needs to be my resourceful life giving to less resourced lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like reopening, at least for the second chance stuff, to go to Greenfield, Hazelwood, which just aren't like, well, Squirrel Hill North and Shadyside are more affluent, and Squirrel Hill South is medium. And
what we found out when we researched that actually is that Shadyside, because it has so many students, is middle also.
Mm-hmm.
So Shadyside's middle, Squirrel Hill South is middle, and Greenfield were all middle, and they were all comparable.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like,
still, there's probably more. Shadyside is probably binary, or bimodal rather, where there's really affluent people there and
Right.
there's students there. Squirrel
Right.
Hill North is probably,
oh, they were off the charts, way rich.
yeah, but still there's students living there, but not as many.
Yeah, not as
The
many.
houses are bigger and stuff, and Shenley Farms and all that business.
Mhm.
So there's mixes, but by and large, like Wilkinsburg is going to be a lot less. Is there a group in Wilkinsburg?
There is. It's a really big group. It's Swiss Vale and Wilkinsburg and Braddock
Mm-hmm.
and Swiss Hill Park. So everything on that side of the park.
Mm-hmm.
And Edgewood as well. So there are like,
oh yeah, Edgewood.
there are like some, it is like a mix, in
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
group.
And so that's one big group that hasn't yet, and I won't say splintered because I believe the appropriate word is sprouted.
There's more than that, because the Highland Park, the group with Highland Park in it is giant also, and takes up most of the rest of the main part of the East End city. So there are several who have not sprouted. We just felt ourselves not being able to interact and control and be. So we thought that second chance, I think, is my new favorite thing. We literally, Constance made it yesterday.
I joined right away. Yeah, it was a while before I thought I was going to be automatically transferred into my neighborhood. And so it was a while before I caught up with the Squirrel Hill South.
Yeah.
But I have great hopes for it.
There's a request for the links to both the Second Chance group and the community group. There's someone who's asking for those links, or a way to find out how to Google them best.
If you belong in in either the Highland Park group or any of the groups that we've been discussing, the three that sprouted, you can find them from your group, I think. But let me go look and see if I can find the links.
So it's like a level B.
I tried looking. I couldn't find it.
Great.
I'm in the Highland Park group.
Oh, perfect. Let me go look.
Great. Crowdsourcing.
I know.
There's another person who wants to join the Second Chance group.
Great.
Yeah, I was hampered by a broken cell phone where the camera wasn't working. So there's a lot of pent up gives in my house.
I was hampered by my husband's doctorate, so there are a lot of pent up gives in my house.
There's a lot of hampering possibilities. I remember when Barbara was cleaning out a room to use for work at home or something. I don't know. Barbara.
Actually, my son moved home,
okay.
Unemployed. I took over the third floor. He already had a lot of furniture.
Oh, okay. I remember there was this great disgorgement.
Yeah, and some of it didn't go, and some of it ended up, I mean, maybe nobody wants a nice, even though it's pretty good and it's pretty clean, nobody wanted the mattress. So that did eventually, unfortunately, go to the landfill. But there's other stuff that I still have, and the Second Chance group would be wonderful. I've already tried again on my local Buy Nothing group. So the Second Chance group would be great. So I'm trying to find it. I'm on Facebook in my Buy Nothing Squirrel Hill group, and I could see that.
It is the first link that I just posted.
Because
I'm in discussion, maybe about.
Second Chance group seems to say I have to be in the Bakery Square, Squirrel Hill South, or Greenfield group in order.
That is true.
So if I'm in the Highland Park group, I can't join.
That's true. You can be in the East End Community Connect, which is down at the bottom.
All right. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
We might be willing to expand it, but give us a couple weeks in our current formation.
Yeah.
You never really know what's going on with things like that.
Yeah, I have trouble finding things on Facebook. I'm in the Buy Nothing group, and you said you just posted it, and I don't see anything, even though when
I just posted it to the chat.
Oh, the chat. Oh, here. Okay, great. There we go.
Yeah,
Thank
Zoom
you.
chat has the
there.
link.
Yeah, there
the
it
top
is.
one is the second, and the bottom one is East End Community Connect.
So there's join group. Thank you.
I mean,
Bingo.
there's a chance that that other groups could do this too. I mean, we just made it up like we usually do, because that's the way we roll. But like somebody could easily take the Highland Park group, and I mean, we could consider adding the Highland Park group to ours. But I think we need a couple weeks to make sure that it's rolling all right and that everything's working out.
Yeah, no worries. I actually realized I'm in the East End Community Connect. I just had no idea it was connected to the Buy Nothing community. I just was using it as another way to find out about stuff in the community.
Right.
So
right, that's what it's for. But it's so it kind of grew up because we were like, we really like all the people in our Buy Nothing group, and we would like to have a community group with them in it. So we just made one. These people
And the
have helped me in many
community,
ways.
so the East End Community Connect is that group?
Yep, it grew out of our Buy Nothing group. And then we added in the Highland Park group. So do any of you, I know some of you belong to the Squirrel Hill Buy Nothing groups, and you're in the Highland Park one. Has anyone else had experiences with Buy Nothing?
I have a question about the messaging system. I do have great experience with Buy Nothing. Can you hear me or not? Is that
I can hear
you?
It's quiet.
Very quiet. If you speak up.
If you bring it closer or go closer to the microphone.
I can try and speak up. I can speak up, but I have joined. A friend of mine in the South Hills suggested, and I joined, and it's a really great idea, and I just love it. But the messaging system is giving me trouble. I give messages and I can't get them back, and my iPad just doesn't, I don't know, it's hard to find that little icon that I get a message, and I've been putting my email address in when I respond to something, and a few people have emailed me back, but then other people haven't. I get my email readily, but the messaging system seems almost prohibitive from my point of view. I just don't get in contact with the right person in the right time, and it's awkward. Does anyone else have that experience with the messaging?
So Facebook Messenger can definitely be irritating. And with Buy Nothing, the problem with Buy Nothing and Facebook messaging is that we are trying to get people who aren't friends to message each other. And that makes the messages go to something called your message request folder, which lots of people don't even know about. So you might get a message from somebody and you might accidentally miss the alert, and then it's going to be in this other folder called your message request folder. If you know that somebody has messaged you, in my group, I recommend that people always tell people that they've messaged them in the actual thing. So the person will get a notification and then also will be able to look in the group and see that that person has messaged them. One way to, if you know that somebody has messaged you and you can't find the message, is to go into Facebook Messenger and pretend you're going to message that person. Now, if you go to that person and you hit message, usually the messages they sent to you will pop right up. It's a fancy trick. It's helpful. So if somebody is like, I have messaged you, and you can't find it.
My iPad, I think it's overwhelmed by going to various links, which is what, when I click on something and click on something else and click on something else, suddenly my iPad goes black because it has protested, and this is often what I find happens.
Nah, bummer. Yeah,
Facebook
I don't know
can
what
be
to do
a
about
memory
that.
hog. So it may be just a hard, you may need to sometimes you can do a browser-based version of Facebook. On your iPad, my
Use
wife
the
does a
long
browser-based version of Facebook on her Android phone, and it helps her with memory issues that the app generally has.
I don't understand that. I'm not computer savvy enough to. I go to the library and use a big computer, but I only do that every couple of days, and now they closed up again. They were open, and I could get a library computer, but I can't go there now. And so I have no other option but my little iPad, and I'm not computer savvy enough to understand what you're even talking about.
You can go to a website, just go to facebook.com and try that on your iPad.
Instead of the app.
Oh, bring it up as a new, okay, maybe I do understand that. Bring it up as a new, on the internet rather than using the app.
Exactly.
Did John's question about
what about
Point
putting
Breeze
my
go by?
email in the message? Is that useful or not? Does that work?
Did you say somebody asked about Point Breeze?
Yeah, someone was
Point
asking
Breeze?
if there's something in Point Breeze yet.
It is split in half.
Hmm.
It is halfway in Bakery Square, Shadyside, Squirrel Hill North, and half in maybe Wilkinsburg. Look at my map.
Can you put a link to the map in?
I can. For some reason, it wasn't working the other
chat.
day, but I'll put it up again and we'll see if it works this time.
Because one, if one is, it's a little map with rough lines, so one really may need to look at it. Okay, this map, this is this feature, and this is over to that park, figuring out which group you belong in.
Yep. See.
Icon.
Okay.
Now it's up again, so I can't go to the library and use the big computer.
All right, I just put up the map link. Let me know if that works for you. Oh yeah, let me give you the Find a Group website too. While I'm at it. All right. In the chat, I put the Find a Group and the Pennsylvania map. Hopefully that works.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And does that pretty much catch everyone's wonderings about the buy nothing? Oh, Ed asks, is this going to destroy our economy, which depends on people buying too much stuff? Here's hoping. What needs to happen, I think, is there need to be more jobs with less expectations of each job. Coal mining job losses are mostly due to automation. There's a lot fewer jobs. Of course, they blame environmental regulation, but economic factors such as automation and competition with cheap gas account for a lot more job losses. And so we need to know where to point the finger, and it comes down to company decisions. So companies could send coal miners in, and they would have shorter days and whatever. And coal mining is probably a terrible example for this, but just in general, people's productivity is so much higher. But companies see units of a person and a benefits package. So it would cost more. So new stuff would cost more if you had fewer people, if you had the same amount of work spread around more people, it would cost more, but it should cost more because it also is unnecessarily damaging natural resources and health. So, and land and air and water and everything. So this is a very off the cuff terrible way to explain this, but it seems as though it would move the economy in a good direction toward, but how to convince the companies that they should do that. I mean, why should Amazon have 2 people for 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day instead of 1 person for 8 hours a day, if they can do it with 1 person for 8 hours a day and still do benefits package? Or maybe they want 4 hours a day because they don't have to do the benefits package, which isn't fair to the people either. So I don't know how any of this is going to happen, but I think it would be a better situation to be in. So I don't know if anybody else has any good economics. Jobs into repairing things. As Molly points out, jobs could go into repairing items rather than creating new cheaply made products. And that, so just as welfare or other government assistance, wouldn't that be better if it weren't just people on the dole, but people doing like the Civilian Conservation Corps, building parks, building paths, bridges in parks, and doing all the great things that they did back in the day. And instead now those things tend to fall to nonprofits, to philanthropy, when they're done at all. And a lot of things just degrade. So, if new things are more expensive, it will naturally become more economical to repair old things. And you will have repair shops springing up. There will be, right now, there's still that one shoe repair shop in Squirrel Hill, and there would be, a small electronics repair shop and a home appliance repair shop, and people that would come to your home, and that's more jobs, not fewer. So that's a good point. And Molly also wondered how people decide who gets the item when after a little simmering period. And lots of ways, I think. Could be,
totally.
Could be pick a straw, or could be, oh, I like their story about their kid or whatever.
Yeah, people use a lot of ways. I think when you first start, a lot of people use the random number generator. They don't know their neighbors yet. They're a little nervous about picking someone after letting it sit for a while. I usually let mine sit for a day or 2.
Roll
and
a
it makes
die.
people really nervous in the beginning. Yeah, so they roll a die, they use a random number generator. They do it a simple way. But as you get to know people, as I was saying, I take into account whether I've given to a person before. So I take into account what people say and whether they're being neighborly and talking in full sentences. I take into account whether I've given to them before, and I take into account other things that just come to my mind as I feel my way through each one. But a good way to begin, if you're a newbie to Buy Nothing Project, just a die or a random number generator or something like that.
Okay. And yes, Barbara points out whether you've given them to before could go either way. You could either want to spread the joy around, or you could want to really cement a friendship.
It's true. It's true.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. As you can see, a tremendous amount of engagement here. I hope that people are, at the end of the day, everyone on the call will be a member. That would be great.
That would be great.
And so thank you so much for the work that you did, well, the inspiration to start it in our region, and all the work you've done administering it and working and getting to know the neighbors even better. So thank you very much, Cozy.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. So that brings us to the other main chunk, which is and I see some applause hands showing up on the screen. And so that brings us to the sort of second half, where we're going to have a few more different speakers, because this group, PASUP, Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic, which began close to 2 years ago now. And we actually featured in the September of 2019 Sustainability Salon. And I think I have a link in this month's to that one where there's more paragraphs of me ranting about plastics. And other links to to relevant articles and whatnot. But there's quite a few different angles that PASUP is taking to reduce the use of single-use plastics. And ranging from resources on recycling when there are unavoidable ones, to just educating people about how recycling is a really terrible solution, at least the way it's implemented now, to advocating for better policies about single use with businesses and with governments. And I should probably shut up and let Danica Buchanan-Wollaston take over. Are we here, Danica? Let me unpin and mute. And
I'm here. Can you everybody hear me?
You are. Yes, I'm going to render you co-host. And make you big for me in the recording. So yeah, Danica has facilitated a lot of our meetings and helped keep things going. I guess it was started by you and Pat Budemeyer, who I don't think is with us today.
Yoder.
What was that?
I believe Elise Yoder was one of the.
Oh, and Elise Yoder was another core group core person at the beginning. And it started within the context of the local Quaker meeting house, or Quaker meeting.
Yes.
So take it away, Danica.
So Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic, which is not the original name when it was started in the context of the Quaker meeting house. The name PASUP as an acronym was the product of many long hours of discussion. But I think we settled on a really great name. It is exactly what it says on the tin. It is people who live in Pittsburgh who don't like single-use plastic. And I think that's, you know, a pretty good, clear message that we're trying to send. And that's what we've been working on. Since we started at the beginning of 2019, it was something different. It was intended to be short-term. It was something that was created by the Earth Care Working Group at the Quaker Meeting House, which does include Elise Yoder and Pat Budemeyer, as well as myself and a few other people from the meeting who worked with some other groups and other faith communities to create an sort of interfaith challenge that was designed to be just a few months long of people working against single-use disposables, particularly plastic, but more as an idea of a, you know, a reduction challenge over a short period of time to see what in our daily lives can we reduce in terms of the waste that we use. And the type of people that this attracted are all very highly motivated people who had a lot of really fantastic ideas, who at the end of the 3-month time period we had initially planned for, wanted to keep working. And so there was a lot of work that went into shifting our idea of what it was going to be and how it was going to work, which is still something of a work in progress, even now, almost 2 years later, where we are especially forced to reevaluate how we are going to operate and what we are going to do in the context of the pandemic. But the mission that we've settled on is to create greater awareness of the dangers of single-use plastic, to support the efforts of individuals and groups acting against single-use plastic, and to advocate for cleaner and greener solutions to plastic dependence. Our goal is envisioning a city where individuals may live free of single-use plastic as much as possible. And so we have worked on that in a number of ways. A lot right now that's just been going on with community education and outreach. To that end, one of our biggest, and I think to this day most successful projects that we've created is the Recycle This Pittsburgh website, which is very public. And I'll put the link in the chat if anybody wants to take a look at it. I also know that this is kind of supposed to be me talking about the history of the organization, but I did want to include Sabrina, who is here, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, if you wanted to say anything about the website since she's its primary champion.
She's its primary creator, and it's awesome.
Sure. Recycle This Pittsburgh is, Cozy used the term hyperlocal, and that's the term that I use when I talk about Recycle This Pittsburgh, a hyperlocal resource for information on recycling items. And the reason that it was our project for the original What's Up challenge was that in every meeting, talking about single-use plastics, people tend to go down the route of, and what if we could just recycle it? And what actually is recyclable? And I don't understand, can I put this in my curbside recycling? And it just seemed like no matter how hard you talk about plastic, how hard you try to talk about plastic, you end up talking about recycling. And I think it's kind of a blocker. And at the same time, it's also a bit of an entry point for people once they realize that recycling isn't working the way that maybe they think it should be working, or the idealized way it's working, then that motivates them to maybe buy different things, or to maybe support policies that are at a government or business level to try to address those issues. And so Recycle This is about getting people to understand what's actually recyclable and hopefully improving the recycling in Pittsburgh, but ultimately to get people to reduce what they're purchasing, or to get us all to shift to different kinds of packaging and different ways of thinking about what should be disposable and what should be reusable. Anyone is welcome to submit a question. It is kind of a slow process to get new items up, but I try to put a couple new items up every month. So we've got, I don't know how many items we have, but close to like 100 items. And I try to put a photograph of an item as you would find it, as you would be able to buy it here in the Pittsburgh region. So Pittsburgh brands, Pittsburgh stores.
Yeah. So I think that project really came out of that sort of community need that we were seeing at our meetings. What we were doing is we were meeting in person, and we were splitting up into different groups to work on different things, because people are in some cases much more interested in working on that kind of very hands-on public education. Some people are much more interested in working on, you know, pushing legislation that will help reduce single-use plastic. Some people were interested in working with the local school boards and perhaps with other institutions, restaurants, hospitals, you know, government officials, events, parks department. There was a lot of different interests in a lot of different places. A lot of people interested in municipal composting. So we had different sort of activities that people would split up and work on. At every single meeting, we had these recurring questions. So that type of ground level education became very helpful, of having the ability to, you know, to direct people to this resource, and also to have, as Sabrina said, to start that conversation. So we have people who come in who are asking us why, you know, this project, which, like I said, is definitely our largest and most public project, is about recycling plastic instead of getting rid of plastic. And the answer is, as Sabrina said, recycling is a gateway. Recycling education is a big deal. People who are just starting to worry about how to get rid of plastic in their homes and in their lives believe, and we have found that a lot of what goes into their curbside recycling is actually recycled, and then that's good. And, you know, so much recycling education over the last several decades has been aimed towards that feeling of, you know, you recycle it and you're saving the planet and you're doing something ecologically friendly and it's good. So you get that good feeling from doing it. And you hear a lot of jokes about it in the media and popular culture, from your friends and family. You know, we recycle. And it's seen as a very green thing, but the more people learn about it, the more they realize, as I'm sure most of you do already, that it's really not, that the recycling of plastic is not, as Barbara just said in the chat, it's a placebo. It is, you know, that we need to be working on eliminating these things from our lives rather than putting them in a recycling bin, especially when so much of the recycling is either not being done effectively or not being done in some cases for certain types of plastics or certain shapes of plastics at all. It's, you know, not feasible and it's not very sustainable. So obviously we're aware of that. We work on reduction as well as recycling, but kinds of education can be very helpful. I have just a few minutes left of the original time slot that was allotted to me, so I wanted to kind of open it up in case anybody has any questions about the group.
We're pretty good on time, so if you have more to say, we should also definitely talk about our upcoming event.
Yeah,
with PASUP, where that will partly address what Vince put in the chat, that there are some things that relate to COVID. We'll be talking about trying to avoid some of the assumptions that everything has to be plastic wrapped. And anyway, so.
I was going to talk about that. We have an event coming up on the 13th on Sunday in the afternoon. The time of which, if I remember correctly, is, if I remember what day it is, there we go, it's 5 p.m. on the 13th. And it's going to be virtual. We're going to be talking about how to reduce single-use plastic during the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, we're going to be talking, we've got some recommendations from our resident physician, Wrenn, about, who will also be talking briefly today, but talking about how you can do takeout, how you can do shopping, how you can do some, you know, holiday shopping, and try to be as sustainable as possible.
What numbers are being recycled in Pittsburgh now?
That's not about the number.
About the shape.
A big question.
Don't ignore don't ignore the number, but in general, the number does not guarantee you anything. The little triangle is a lie. The link I just sent is a link to an article on RecycleThisPgh that talks about generalities about what plastic can be recycled curbside in Pittsburgh and explains it a little bit.
Danica, you were modest. You forgot to tell us about the quiz, the plastics quiz.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's just an icebreaker for the event, but we're going to have some plastics trivia. It's, you know, I guess test your plastics knowledge at the event. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a really fascinating conversation. It's intended less as a lecture and much more as a discussion. So I am still, as of yet, unsure if I will personally be able to attend it, but I can guarantee you that all of the people who will be in attendance, will be leading these discussions, are some of the most interesting people I've had the pleasure of meeting.
And a fun time will be had by all.
Yes, indeed.
There's a question here. Do the speakers happen to know if the cost of bioplastics slash ecovativs are lowering to a point that the masses would start preferring items using these materials that would help people do away with plastic question mark?
I think so, especially when we're talking about large scale consumerism. We've been seeing in the past, 5 to 10 years, a significant decrease in plastic production. The companies that make plastic bags are starting to lower their production because the demand is getting lower. So if, we had alternatives, and bioplastics can be a little tricky because a lot of the time something that is billed as an ecologically friendly plastic alternative turns out to be not as ecologically friendly as we'd like, that people do. And I've spoken with some representatives from grocery stores who have run into this issue where the executives at the grocery store are concerned, that if they offer people only the option to go plastic free, buying in bulk or things like that, that they will lose sales on it. So they're very tentative. They don't want to put their, they don't want to jump into the deep end. So they tend to want to dip a toe into the water. But it's difficult to say with a lot of consumers if they're confronted with the option of buying something that's prepackaged versus having to package it themselves in the store. If they'll go for the option that is slightly more work intensive in the moment, plenty of consumers will. And plenty of consumers are. That's why you're starting to see more bulk options available in more mainstream stores like the Giant Eagle Market districts that would frequently offer both options. But in places like Trader Joe's, which purport to be much more, ethical in general, we were still not seeing a lot of these options because the higher ups in corporate who make those decisions are concerned about losing sales. And also I saw someone in this chat sent me a private message about how to attend. We are going to be having the December 13th meeting via Zoom as well. So I put our website in the chat, and I'm going to put our Facebook group in the chat as well, because we have an event on the Facebook group, which I believe was just shared. Yep, so if you go to the Facebook group that I just put in the link, then you'll see our Plastic and the Pandemic real talk about staying healthy and cutting waste during COVID-19 is one of our most recent events that's been posted there. So you can register to join that.
And those links are also on the Marin's List event description. They're not in the Eventbrite page because Eventbrite is annoying. It took away all my links, and I wasn't going to go remake that every link.
The PASUPnow.org, the website that we have also has the option for you to join our mailing list, which has in recent months over the pandemic, as we were trying to reconnoiter and figure out exactly how we are going to continue to work together during this time when we were previously so reliant on working in person. But we'll always have event notifications. So if we're ever hosting an event and you'd like to receive an email notification, especially if you're someone who's not on Facebook, then you will hear about it that way.
I don't see any other questions. There's a comment from Sabrina. That would be great. Sean, what I learned about recipients, receipts for the recycle this entry really surprised me. Not recyclable, not compostable, not good to touch a lot.
Yes, you're talking about store receipts. Cash register receipts are have like formaldehyde or something in them. Those thermal paper things.
I think bisphenol.
Bisphenol, BPA. Okay, BPA. One of those things.
Lots
that
and lots
is
and
not
lots of
good
it.
to be handling. So while I don't necessarily think that the gloves that cashiers are wearing because of COVID are either particularly sensible for COVID or environmentally sound, they do at least protect them from their receipts they're handling. And many places, something that folks may not know is that at the co-op, you have an option of having your receipt emailed to you. And so usually the cashiers will ask, do you want a receipt? And then just not print it, which means less paper, less chemicals in the thermal thing. And, who really needs their receipts anyway?
Which is, I think, the sort of theme that I have found personally in my conversations with people when they raise those kinds of concerns about, well, how can we make this item that is plastic, that is a single-use disposable, how can we make it environmentally friendly? And I find myself so often, the answer is that we just don't do that. We do something that is not single-use. We do something that, we don't do like a receipt. You can get it emailed to you. You don't need a physical receipt. Or, it depends on who you are, what your record keeping is. There are alternatives that involve just a paradigm shift rather than an alternative to the actual item.
Yeah, there are some things that we're going to continue to need, that seeking like bioplastic, like building materials made out of mushrooms kind of things. There's people doing stuff with that, and that's pretty cool if it really works. And but there are other things that you just shouldn't need. All right. So yeah, the East End Food Co-op, just a little update there. They, if the cashier doesn't say, you can say, don't need the receipt, and that is something that they all know how to do. I don't know about other stores. If you go to the Giant Eagle, what would they think if you said no receipt? I mean, would you just confuse the cashier? I'm not sure. I don't go there often enough to
Having
know.
worked in retail myself, I can also tell you specifically Giant Eagle and stores like it, whether or not you're taking that receipt home with you, it's getting printed out. It prints automatically.
Okay, well, somehow they have a way to suppress that at the food co-op. Also, for a while, they were not allowing you to bring in your own containers to fill, but they are now. So just an update, you can take your bulk containers to the food co-op. I don't know if people are shopping at Whole Foods, despite the fact that it's owned by Amazon. Do they still have their bulk section? I haven't been there in ages. Does Whole Foods still have a bulk section? Does anybody know? Okay, so I don't know how they feel about filling your own containers, but at any rate, I advocate for the food co-op over Whole Foods. Okay, let's see, we have, so is that all you have, and people are good? I think we're caught up with the questions.
Yeah, I think I will leave off with, if you want to know more about PASUP, you should join us on December 13th. You'll find out all about us.
Yeah. Oh, and Dylan said that I asked about the bag ban bill, and that was extended. It was supposed to run out in July, but it was extended because of COVID. And Suzanne is saying that glyphosate is in receipts. I think BPA is. I'm not sure about formaldehyde. I would be pretty surprised if glyphosate is. Could you possibly be mixing that up with PFAS? Suzanne? Yeah, I don't think it's glyphosate. I think it's okay, that's what you learned? Huh.
Glyphosate's in everything these days.
Is it really? Yikes. Here we thought
Like,
it was just in Roundup.
Quarantine.
Well, Roundup is used on so many things, you know, to dry crops. Even if it's a GMO free, they use glyphosate to dry the crops, or the Roundup to dry for harvest and get them ready for harvesting. And so
what?
Yeah, so GMO free is not a prevention for glyphosate and Roundup. You have to get totally organic grains in order to, and foods that have 100% organic grains in order to avoid glyphosate. But you still even get drift glyphosate in your food because it's sprayed so widely across the country. So there's no way to totally prevent glyphosate from getting into your food supply, but only by going organic with grains, at least, can you stop it from showing up there?
Yeah, I'm not sure about receipt paper, but I do know that there was a study done in 2019 where they tested 21 different products to see which exceeded the 160 parts per billion glyphosate levels that would be considered safe. And of the 21 products that they tested, sorry about that. 16 of 21 products they tested had levels over the acceptable levels. Right, give me one moment.
Okay. Oh, the dog is being let out. I see the tail wagging. And then we will move on and after. So thank you so much, Danica, for your fearless leadership as we've gone forward. And Danica has stepped back a bit from quite keeping everything going. And our other PASUPer Ed Wrenn is taking up a little more of the slack there, and he'll be wrapping up our section on PASUP a little bit later. But first, since it is entering the holiday season when lots of people feel like they need and want to convey gifts to manifest their love and affection for their friends and family. We have with us another PASUPer who has thought a lot about this, who has developed a small local business. And I keep trash talking Amazon. I think one of the points I made in my event description was that as of like a month ago, Jeff Bezos's wealth had increased by $70 million since the beginning of the pandemic, just because everybody's buying and shipping stuff, and that's just insane. So has, of course, the head of Zoom, but Zoom isn't putting in-person meetings out of business. Amazon is putting local businesses out of business. So I look at them a little differently. I don't know what the number is for Zoom, but I'm sure that the person in charge of Zoom is really rich now. So thank you again, Danica, for coming to speak. And we may or may not see you next Sunday, but I hope you have a good next week in the meantime. All right. And so the small business to which I'm currently referring is called Our Children, Our Earth. And I think it's called that because it started with like wooden children's toys. And let us find, make Dianne the co-host. And so we will bring up Dianne Peterson, who, if you go to her Facebook, you can see that Christmas tree behind her being assembled and decorated in fast motion. It's really hilarious. But so Dianne is a familiar face to many of us. She has spoken at my December salon before and has just not just plugging her business, because often in Dianne's business, she will say, no, you don't need this. Don't buy a new thing. But she does have a lot of great things available, both in terms of sort of non-plastic toys and games, and also non-petroleum plastic household goods that are replacements for or alternatives to disposables. So lots of silicone, lots of stainless steel, and but she's also thought through the whole gift giving thing. And I am not a very gifty person, as I said way back before the beginning of this salon. But I think Dianne is, and she's got it down and doing everything in a really cool, creative way. And so she, and then also Becca Stallings will be speaking as well, has some ideas to contribute to that. And then we can talk about that. And then Ed will help us wrap up with reflections on PASUP. So take it away, Dianne.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, good, because I don't have the fancy headphones, so I'm just trying to figure out how to use Zoom. So this is, you see the artificial lighting and all, and hopefully will work. But I just wanted to say thank you, Maren, for having me again. I'm Dianne Peterson. I'm the owner of Our Children, Our Earth. And yes, you're right, Maren, it started out as that name because it was a toy store, and then it kind of morphed into having eco goods. I was really frustrated with people coming in and shopping for the health of their children, and then, you know, healthy toys, and then feeding them out of plastic bags, plastic containers, and disposable water bottles. So we quickly added on a whole wing to the store. I'm also, as you said, a member, a steering committee member, if we have that, of PASUP and a member of A to Z Impacts of Plastic, their steering committee. So I'm really trying to help us all to get rid of plastic in our lives in whatever way it enters. So like I said, thank you, Mary, for having me once again. It's always a pleasure to see you guys, even if it's, you know, little tiny boxes on my screen. And I just have to say thank you, Maren, for continuing this even during times of COVID so that we can all safely stay home. And as a full-time caretaker of my 94-year-old mom, who's right over there, I thank you for staying home, doing things virtually, and whenever you're out, wearing a mask. Thank you so much. Anyway, that's my plug. So I am super excited to be here tonight and talk about this topic. I got to talk about it a little bit. It was 2018 when I talked to you guys, giving a talk called Holiday Green Magic, but that was only a portion of my talk. So now I'm going to dive into gift giving, and I want to talk about how we can make it with more spirit, less waste, more fun, more thought, perhaps more time, and hopefully less money. So that is my goal. So I was thinking about gift giving, and thanks, Maren. I do actually think about it a lot, partially because it's my business, and partially just because I think that I'd like to share joy, and I'd like to share it in ways that are earth-friendly and people-friendly. So I started to think about the different types of gift giving there is, and there's like the true gift, and what that means is there's no strings attached, kind of like the no buying Facebook page we just heard about, Facebook group. So this is the type of gift where you really are giving from the heart, and you really are not expecting anything back. Unlike what your mom says, even a thank you note. So even though you should always write a thank you note or share your thanks, a true gift means you expect nothing back. I think that the traditional gift is one we give to a friend, our family, and it's what most of us do. We give for holidays, we give appreciation, we give on birthdays, we give to say thank you. And then there's the obligatory gift, the transactional exchange, the requirement. Yeah, I don't even like to talk about this, can you tell? But the one that's required from us socially and business-wise and in our communities. And why am I telling you that? Because I think having a mind for what kind of gift you're giving, which situation are you in, plays into what kind of gift you're going to give. But some factors, no matter what type of gift giving you're doing, should remain the same, I think. And the first most important rule of gift giving is know your recipient. So that may sound really simple, but it's so important. And I'm sorry, this is the point of the talk where everybody's going, oh darn, I was hoping Dianne was going to give us some really easy solutions, and it's just going to be one size fits all, and I'll be done. And hopefully I will give you some easy solutions. But the real truth is, gift giving is not a one size fit all purpose task. It's just not. So any gift, no matter how lavish, impressive, unique, is a complete waste for all concerned, for you as the recipient and for the ecosystem and for, like I said, you, the recipient, and the ecosystem, if it is not a gift that's desired. So it wastes your time, it wastes your money, it wastes the planet's resource, it wastes the recipient's time, and it wastes space in their life and in their home. So as much as we can, let's try to know our recipient and give a gift that's actually going to be a gift and not a burden. So this is where I say it's time for my family to pay and my friends to pay close attention, because for me, getting a new set of weights, a membership to a CSA, rock climbing lessons, yes, rock climbing lessons, some new underwear would be great. A donation even to a cause I love, I don't get so excited about that. But for you, maybe getting underwear is like the worst thing you can think of. And a CSA membership means, oh my God, I have to admit to the world that I don't cook. But please give me a donation for the organizations I want to support and I can't. So know your recipient. If there's one thing, one takeaway from this talk, I think that's going to be it. Know your recipient. Now, I know there's someone out there thinking about gift cards. So gift cards. If you know your recipient really well and there's a business that they adore, well then sure, go ahead and do the gift card thing. But I'm going to tell you, the real winner in the gift card race are the businesses. So if you really want to give a gift and you want to make sure that it's exactly what they want, but you don't want to actually go out and buy it, think about giving them cash. But think about giving it to them creatively. So your idea is, you know, I think they'd really like a book. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to get an old book that I'm going to get rid of anyway, and I'm going to make a cute little gift certificate, and a little gift certificate meaning worded, and the cash, and say, buy a book. But you know, if there's something else you'd like, get that too. So, you know, you're going to get them some clothes, cut out some ideas and catalogs and say, hey, I was thinking you might like this, but here's the cash. Because if you'd rather go somewhere else, go for it. Shoes. I just gave my son a pair of shoes for his birthday, but I didn't know what he wanted. So I happen to have some really cute souvenir shoes, little tiny shoes that I got in Holland 30 years ago. And I put the money in there and I said, buy yourself a pair of shoes. So anyway, be creative. And I think this is what you're going to find a lot of time. For those of you that know me well, you'll know that I love giving experiences. But doing this in a time of COVID-19, not so easy. Normally, one of my favorite gifts to receive of all time is museum passes. But this year, it's a total wash. I don't know about you, but I've not been to a museum once. But just so you know, when there's a time that we're going to go back to museums, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful gift to give the gift of learning, to give the gift and the opportunity to be with this person, to see art, to learn about science, to learn about history, to play in a children's museum. I love that. So, but when you're choosing a pass, be careful. So there's several ways to look at a pass. Some people just say, this is my local museum, I want to support them, and that's fine, that's great. But me, I look and say, what kind of museum do I want to go to, not only here, but when I travel? So I find the best museum my favorite is the Walker Pass out of Minnesota, because I can get into 800 museums with that pass. What a deal. So in fact, the Walker people know me pretty well, that in membership, you call and say, hey, Dianne Peterson sent me. She'll go, oh yeah, her again. In fact, I got a free month out of that. But anyway, love museum passes, but not such a great thing right now. So we may not be able to give the museum passes, the trips to the theater. One of the ideas that I'd love to do, but we can't do so much now, is to give someone some cash and a reservation to maybe a state or a national park, or provide them with the journey to the park and take a hike together. So even though it's COVID and we can't really share things in person, we can still share experiences. So I had a couple ideas. I hope you like them. So I think food is always a great gift. Sharing a recipe is a great gift, but how about this? You contact your friend that you want to gift and you say, how is this date for you? And this can be either near or far. If this friend lives nearby, you can certainly ask them what day is good for them, drop off the recipe, and drop off the meal fully made. If the person lives far away, send the recipe, set up a date, and then have the food and all the ingredients delivered, and then together on Zoom, we know it well, cook with them and share the meal with them. Another thing I like is sharing talent. So provide a lesson over Zoom, a cooking, a sewing, a craft, yoga, dance, even bike repair. So share a talent. Make a YouTube of one of your talents that people would enjoy watching, whether it's you reciting your poetry, you playing your musical instrument, whatever. One of my favorite ideas, and this was something I did before COVID time because my children's grandparents live far away. was to give a book to the grandparent, give a book to the child, give the same book, often an anthology or a collection of stories was really good. And then they can read together. So, and if the child's too young to read, I recommend beautiful storybooks. I don't know if you can see this one. I love Jan Brett. She has amazing illustrations. Can you see them? And then this is something I sell in my store, is I really like the idea of giving a book and then giving puppets that are in the book and acting it out. So that's an elephant, can you tell? Anyway, so that's a lot of fun and makes the child feel like they're still interacting with their special people that they can't get together with. Another experiential gift would be the gift of a promise, a personal gift certificate. So you can promise cookies, promise to hem somebody's pants, a dinner, of course, like I said before, a drive to their favorite park and a hike together, a musical lesson. How about something else you can do, like build model ships? Maybe you would like to teach them that. But if you don't like any of those ideas and you really want to give them something you can wrap up, I can go there. And let's talk a little bit about a gift of memories, because it's a nice bridge between an experiential gift and a physical gift. So maybe just writing a really nice heartfelt letter. This one is in my mom's memory book. It's a gift that I wrote to her in May of 2004. And I don't know if you can see, but it's very fancy paper and I did my very best handwriting. And she still looks at that now, about 16 years later, right? How about doing some family history? So this is a story my mom wrote. I guess it's not so important to see, but my mom was given when she was 3 years old, she was given a beautiful dollhouse made out of a bunch of crates by her older brother. I didn't bring the dollhouse down to show you, but I can bring you some parts. This is the bed that was made. And then my mom added to it, sewing a quilt and sheets and a little pillow and pillowcase. And when my daughter was then 3, my mom gifted my daughter her dollhouse. And then subsequently, years later, she wrote the history of the dollhouse and her family. So that's, a gift that she didn't purchase. It's a material gift, but it's also the gift of love, memories, and her history. So thinking of other things that would be memory gifts, we've actually put together a memory book for my mom, and it's not just, you can see, it's not just for people losing their memory, but it's always fun to just have someone record what's going on in their life. This is one that my daughter just put together to send to her relatives, her grandmother that she hasn't seen in a long time. These things are really precious and take some time, but they're not feeding Amazon, and they're really, really something that people are going to keep for a very long time, I hope. This is another idea that I've started as a parent is when my kids are very young, I didn't want them to just point something in a magazine or in a catalog and say, Daddy, buy this for Mom. So my thing is I really like memory. So I said, here's my book, here's my memory book. I just want you to, with the aid of Daddy, make something and then write something that will tell me about a memory of that year. So this is an example of my daughter made for me for my birthday this last week. And it's a memory of a trip we took in this fall to see the fall leaves. So this will be placed in my memory book. So it's, something simple. They can do it at any age, and it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's really, really precious. So this sounds funny, but I'm going to say, how about giving perishable instead of sustainable? Something usable, but wanted. So think food, think lotions that you can make at home, think homemade, think of things like, well, how about instead of a plastic razor, how about a metal one? So things that you can use, but will perish like food, or stay around for a long time, but will be used, like socks. Reach beyond the traditional gifts of baked goods and think, for example, dryer balls, okay? I'm just showing you this one because you can make it more fun. This is what I'm working on. I'm actually making a globe. What you can do is you have wool. You just tear it apart, attach it, and then poke, okay? And I really like to recommend this gift because this is something that you can use, children can play with, or you can use it as a dryer ball. But when you're making it, there's something really soothing about poking the crap out of this little ball with this pin, especially during COVID-19. We can all probably use one of these. So, like I said, think beyond the box. Everyone's wearing masks these days. How about embroidering a mask? You don't have to make the mask. You can buy it and embroider it. How about checking out Etsy or Pinterest? There's zillions of ideas on there. One of the things that I really like with little kids is to get a candle. One of the things I sell in the shop is, is play wax. And it can be used to make mold fun things, but also if you roll it out really thin, children can cut it with a cookie cutter and then just hold it with the heat of their hand. And they can do this when they're really young because you might help them hold it. And then it fixes to the candle and makes a beautiful gift for grandma and grandpa. Easy. So anyway, if none of these ideas speak to you, I guess what we can do, sorry, I lost my notes, is we can do something we learned about today. We can do the new vintage shopping called Buy Nothing. I don't know about you, but I am so excited about that idea. And don't let my family hear this, but I already got something for them on Buy Nothing. And if you can't get on Buy Nothing or that you're not finding what you like, use other communities' social media. Go to the yard sale page. Go to your just regular community page and write an ISO, I'm in search of. You know, just go there and say, you know what, I need a holiday dress, size 6. Does anyone have something? And you'd be surprised at the results. Regifting. Once again, know your recipient. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean they won't like it. So be careful and get things that they're going to like. You know, right now during COVID, a lot of us are at home. I don't know about you, but I'm doing some cleaning of closets and I found some really great stuff. And it's going to be wrapped up for Christmas. So you don't have to go to the vintage shop. You can just go to your own closets and start to find things you can give away. Oh, speaking of buying at thrift stores, I just wanted to share with you because I had a customer call me just yesterday, and she said, Dianne, where can I go and get used clothes? And I said, well, if you're in my home, what happens is I buy something used, such as a sweater, and then I wear it for a while, and then I give it to my mom, and she wore it for a while, and then she got tired of it, and I took it back, and then my daughter sees it, and then she takes it. So we have boxes of things that are going to go to Goodwill or wherever, and often get shopped through again. But if you don't have 4 crazy people in your house that can all wear the same size, then I would suggest going to Thriftspurgh. You can shop online or Instagram, and that is on the Pitt campus, and there are really good deals there. Okay, and I love this idea. I hope you like it too. Consider purchasing gifts via trading with friends. So for example, I can make a killer cookie, but I can't make a pickle. And maybe all my friends got tired of getting cookies last year. Better not, but maybe they did. And maybe they would wish that I'd give them something new. So how about calling your friend who makes pickles and say, hey, can we trade? Because I'd love to give pickles this year. Would you like to give cookies? Or trading a different type of homemade gift. Or I can teach yoga. Can you teach piano? And can we trade? And so I will teach your friend yoga and you'll teach my friend piano. So it's like bartering with and shopping from your friends. So do you like that idea? Anyway, and finally and lastly, and frankly, if you must shop for a material gift, shop with your values in mind. So, and be careful. So don't shop with a heavy hand. Don't give with a heavy hand, saying, don't be the person who gave Mike Pence the Planned Parenthood gift donation, okay? It was fun for all of us, but I don't think Mike Pence appreciated it. So if you're thinking about donating in your friend's honor, make sure that's something they like, okay? And please consider, if you're buying an item, please consider shopping local. Remember, your purchasing habits form what kind of community we have. If you know that that book is for sale on Amazon or in your local bookstore, and you buy it on Amazon because it's easier, or maybe it's $1 cheaper, the next time you want to go shopping at your local bookstore, it may not be there. And consider who you're giving your money to. Is it going to a large corporation? And if so, how is that person spending their money? Is that person the type of person that does a lot of good work in the world? Or is that the kind of person that just lines their pockets? Is that the kind of person who's a supporter and gives 5%? I feel a little bit better about that. Or is a local and smaller business that you want to shop at, and they're the type of people, that's the type of organization you see out in your community doing all kinds of good work. Maybe you want to support that family, that organization. Does that business, does that company give a percentage back? Are those homemade items on Etsy made by a student? So maybe you can help support someone getting their education. What you buy, is it practical, sustainable, but fun and desirable? Does it replace something that's less sustainable? Like I said before, the plastic razor versus the metal razor. Is it good quality? Will it last a long time? Where is it made? Not so much where is it made, by who is it made? Are they treated fairly? Are they paid equitably? Is the product going to be kind to our bodies, our minds, and our environment? And please, if you're buying something, consider making it no plastic or as little plastic as possible, please. So I look at items that are multi-use. I just want to show you really quickly that this is something I'm pulling down for my Christmas tree. I did it ahead of time because there's a lot of stuff up there and I didn't want to lose it. This is actually a rattle that was my son's, and at the bottom, probably can't read it, it will say his name and the date and who gave it to him. And this is a baby toy that's mine. So this one is actually 62 years old. And it hangs on my Christmas tree. So I like things that you know, when you give a child a rattle, you can't look at that and say, well, how multi-purpose is this? I mean, once the kid's done playing with it, it's done. But can't you imagine this rattle up on the Christmas tree? And here's the shameless plug. These are rattles that come from my store. But I think, you know, I love that idea of, you know, buy it, use it as a ornament, use it as a baby rattle, and then put it on the tree. So there's a lot of things that can be multi-purpose. This is one of my most popular toys. It's a piece of silk. And I recommend this for babies, and it goes all the way to adults who want to wear it. I like I said, experiential gifts. So this is one of the things I sell, which is wooden toys. And what I suggest to people is not making it, it's important to me that you are not only gifting your children, but teaching your children and giving them an opportunity to learn. And I just feel if I give them this and wrap all these pieces, that's a lot. But if I do this, I cover it, and then when it's time to unveil it, I tell them a story. And when the story is done, I say, this story is yours. So it's a little tricky. They think they're getting a gift of a story. They're getting an experience, but I'm also able to give them a toy that's valuable to me, and I hope to see in the hands of my great-great-grandchildren. So, and multi-purpose things. Sorry, this is another thing from the story I had to share with you. So this is one of the things I really like is it's a silicone bag that replaces plastic baggies. What is it good for? Well, you can store things in it, anything in it. You can store your food in it, you can bring your lunch in it. And I like this. An example for me is a new idea example, because when I brought these into the store, I would tell people about sous vide, but I didn't know what that was. But now I do. It's a form of cooking. And so if you give a gift like maybe this, and you say, after you find out for sure that they would do something like this if they're really into cooking, is, hey, this is a new way of cooking. This is a new idea for you. What do you think? So anyway, those are some of my ideas. I hope you've come up with, I hope this resonates on some level. Please feel free to reach out to me. I will put my name, phone number, email in the chat. I've got a ton of ideas, but like I said, the thing is, I think it's really important to personalize those ideas. And feel free to call me, not just to find out what I have at the store. I mean, the store is kind of open because we will do a sale for you and then have a contactless pickup. But like yesterday, I had a customer call and she wanted to know about where to get vintage clothing, secondhand clothing. And I'm really happy to talk to you about things that are not in the store. So anyway, feel free to reach out. Feel free also to sign up for my email list. I promise you I do not write very often. I hate sending emails, so I prefer you phone me so we can have a talk. But what I really want to say right now is thank you for the gift you've given me of your time, the most important gift that we can give each other, and for your attention, another really important gift. Thank you. And I have to say, because I just think this is so funny, after I'm talking about reducing, just today I got a feet worth of new toys. So yeah, I really, that's on me. Anyway, so that's it for the official thing. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them.
Thank you, Dianne. That was an action-packed compendium of gifting from all angles. Thank you so much. There have been a lot of conversation going by in the chat. And it's mostly other people, just suggestions and brainstormings and favorite local businesses. Bill Kaneki had the point that none of this telling people not to buy stuff helped your business, so he's going to sell his stock.
I know. I always tell people I'm a horrible business person, but the goal of my store isn't to sell stuff. The goal of my stuff is to change lives. I mean, it sounds so corny, but it's really true. And so when I have people in, especially I love when I have a new customer and they walk in and they're just like, oh my God, what are these toys? Like, what is this stuff? And I tell people the average time for a brand new customer is 2 hours. I've been doing this for 17 years. And that's what I see time and time again. A new customer spends 2 hours. So there's a lot of education going on. I like to get my hands in on just trying to find a way that they can go less plasticky, less consumerism, and trying to get people to spend more time being with each other and with their families and their children. So,
which now, of course, is on Zoom, so bringing a bottle of wine isn't an option. At least a bottle of wine is something that will be enjoyed by the group, and glass is recyclable, but anyway, so let's see. I noted charitable contributions in someone's name, and one example of a transactional sort of expected gift is the whole birthday party favor for kid parties is really out of hand. When I don't remember that from when I was a kid, but that may be because my family isn't very gifty. I don't know if it always was there.
So, that's an interesting, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping it in the chat, so I appreciate you telling me what's on there. But, this is an interesting thing, because it's apparent, if your child goes to a party and they come back with something, and then you have a party and you don't provide something back, what kind of, how close are you? What kind of family are you, right? So I always found a way to, I'm really sneaky like that. It's like, okay, so I want to participate in this, but in a good way. So when my son was 5, we had a Native American party because that's what he wanted. And so, oh my God, this crazy mom made, as best as I could, some Native American costuming for every person who came. And that was their party, you know, so they got to wear it during the party and they got to take it home. And I saw those things in those children's play boxes for years. So, you know, that's a lot to do, but there's other simple things you can do. My daughter had a tea party when she turned 6, and we decorated with little roses, potted roses. And then the tea party, they had, of course, teacup and saucer. So they went home with the decorations. They went home with a teacup. They went home with a rose.
Yeah, I think I did a plant, a lot of little plants one time. Other times, I remember once I used a orange juice container as a container, and like bandana, something that would be used and enjoyed, and not just a piece of plastic crap.
Yeah, and it's funny because this silly piece of material, a silk.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live next to a factory that made fabrics, and they would sell their samples, and it was dirt cheap. I got yards and yards and yards, like 30
Mm-hmm.
yards at a time of material that we made forces and made rainbows. We had a great time. And then a friend gave my daughter a piece of silk, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! This little piece of
No personal questions, please. You don't want to leave. Legends.
You're using a microwave, people. Could you turn off the microwave, literally, seriously, right now?
These boxes that my husband made, I don't know, some of these are 15 years old, and the liners those will be silk. When I give a haircut to my family members, they wear the silks, and sometimes when we just want to dress up, we wear silk. So how did I get on that?
Oh, party favors or something.
Yeah.
Someone pointed out a subscription to a skill sharing app, like, I don't know, piano lessons or Skillshare and Musician are examples. Oh, and it has been pointed out that you should really go on the television talk show circuit to reach a wider audience.
Oh, they're darling, whoever said that.
My cousin in Boston with daughters in Seattle, who are both in the food world, mentioned that for her birthday, her daughter asked me to send a photograph of things in the fridge that she didn't know what to do with, she wanted to use up. And then she sent supplemental food, and they cooked together.
Cool.
And they also made hand lotion together.
Yeah. So, and I understand that, you know, seriously, I had so many ideas. I was like, okay, Dianne, you've got to cut this. Maren said a half-hour max. I'm like, okay. But, you know, I could just go on and on. And so I really appreciate when someone calls me and says, you know, there's nothing more irksome. And I'm sorry that I do have a website, but don't go there. Please just go to my Facebook page. Because it's not about selling you something. It's about providing something that's going to work. And if it's something that you buy from my store, that's fantastic. But quite frankly, people, when you just go online to shop, yes, you can read reviews, but it's not the same as good old-fashioned customer service, talking to someone who cares that you get something that works for you. So I know that sounds really corny, but I don't know. I think it's important.
Yep. Yeah, there's more just ideas. Zooming through, you can use sous vide to make yogurt. Couples,
really?
You can, yeah. It just.
Oh, we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, it works great. And I haven't ever. I have one that I got because I needed to do something to some honey that had changed, and there was some yeast in it, and I needed to heat it to a temperature that would kill the yeast but not kill the enzymes, and keep it there for a certain amount of time. And so I got a sous vide thing, and I haven't done any of that cooking in bags, but I've made yogurt a few times with it.
Oh.
Because it can keep, you just dial up the temperature you want and it stays.
Yeah.
It'll keep it there. And I just put it in a big pot of water in glass jars of yogurt, and And it
Well,
works great.
my concern about sous vide, Maren, is I've had people tell me about it, and they tell me that they're cooking in plastic baggies, and I go crazy because
Now, I don't know why you couldn't do it in a glass jar.
you can do it in a glass jar. That's fine, but for some people, they want to do it. They want to be able to. I don't know why.
No, the official thing is yeah, the official thing is with plastic, and I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. The thing is, quite frankly, you know, your biggest risk in using plastic with your food is when you put it in extreme temperatures, especially heating it. So it's just, please don't do that. Please don't do it. Use a glass jar or come see me. We'll hook you up with some of these silicone bags that are made for baking or microwaving or sous viding. But I was going to say one more thing that I really liked as far as gifts. This is what, because I really encourage my children, you can do whatever you want with your children, as long as it's okay, as long as it's legal. But is I really encourage them to give gifts of themselves. So if you look behind me in the tree, there's like lots of homemade things. Annie's will be thrilled if I highlight this one. There's lots of homemade things, but there's also in our gift boxes in the past has been promises to us. For example, no one in this household really likes to pack a lunch. So my college-age daughter, when she went away, made a promise to us that when she was home for vacations or holidays, that she would do all the packing of lunches. And that was a great gift. I think she did that for 2 years solid because everybody's like, yes, that's the best gift ever. So promises are really lovely too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the classic one is a massage coupon.
Yeah. Somebody else I saw was concerned about ruining surprises. I guess that's a little bit tricky. And that's maybe where a personal gift coupon can come in handy, because then you can just say, you know, I was thinking about giving you this, but if you don't really like it, I can do that.
Or you already have it.
Yeah, I mean, so.
Okay. Well,
you know, we already get things on Christmas. I mean, if you're getting, you know, a promise of a gift, as long as that person's really good at their promises, we can wait, can't we?
Yeah. All right. There's also a suggestion of magazine subscription, but not with the print magazine. And Sean had a suggestion which circles around back to the issue that I think a lot of us picked up on with back when I was 6, and I'm sure you wouldn't do this now. The Native American birthday party is kind of cultural appreciation. So everybody knows that that's not something we really want to do now.
Thanks.
But we realized, that
was 20 years ago.
That was 20 years ago, and we're in a different place in terms of awareness of the whole concept of cultural appreciation. So appropriation rather. But a magazine of cultural appreciation, Sean put in. The Sun magazine has an indigenous culture edition, so we can pick up on that. So anyway, we should move on.
I got to show you one more thing, just
okay.
I don't. So also art projects for people that can't even do art. This is something that my son used old magazines to create. It is one of our beloved photographs of our family. He traced it on its computer, the actual photograph, cut out the pieces, laid it onto magazine print, and then recreated it. So it's a great art project. Anyone can do it and love it. So anyway, okay, thanks everybody.
All right, thank you so much, Diane.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Tell us when you next hit the talk show circuit. All right, so I think we have with us still, yes, Becca managed to get on the computer after her initial false start. And Becca Stallings is another PASUP steering committee member and also has her own enterprise in, I don't know if it's something she does. I don't know if an enterprise implies that you're earning money at it, but anyway, I doubt that's the case. She has a blog called The Earthlings Handbook, and it's just full of all kinds of tips and
it's a general guide to life on Earth. It's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but just for Earth.
But it's not just a guide to life on Earth. It is a guide to living life in a better and more sustainable fashion.
Yes.
So, sorry, I'm trying to do all this, make you co-host and pin you and all these things. So Becca has just sort of a little postscript in this particular context, to Diane's whole gift-giving extravaganza, and some ideas about things that ways to do it if you are giving things.
Yes.
With a capital T.
Yeah. So my focus tonight is mainly on gift wrapping. And I have some visual aids, but first I'm going to just talk to the iPad, which is charging. And then I hope when I unplug it and move it across the room that I'll have enough charge to get through that. So it's a story about my heritage and then about how I kind of helps my family step our values. So my two sets of grandparents are pretty different from one another, but something that they share and that my parents definitely were passing on to me all the time is this philosophy of sort of thriving by making use of what we have and really being careful with how we use stuff. We don't waste things. We take good care of our things. We save money where we can so that we'll always have enough. And look how much great stuff we have. We were always appreciating things that had been in the family for 30 years or whatever. So the way this played out on Christmas morning is that we would be cleaning up the living room after opening gifts. And of course, you would put all the bows back in a box to use again next year. If you found one that had been stepped on or it was really falling apart, then you might throw it in the trash. But in general, a bow was not a single-use item. It cost money, you know? So it would be every 5 or 6 years that somebody would buy a new box of bows because they really hold up for a while. We were using these hideous plaid bows from about 1970 well into the 80s, and it became a joke, like who got the ugliest bow on their gift. But then the wrapping paper too, sometimes you'd see a really big piece and it was still good. So you fold it up neatly and you put it back in the box. And so, of course, that's the habit that I've had all my life. And as I got older, I learned how to unwrap gifts more carefully and slit the tape and unfold it so that you can really save the paper. So just because of this habit in my family, I realized when I was sorting things today to do this presentation, I still have some pieces of the wrapping paper that I remember buying at the thrift drug in Oakland 29 years ago, my first Christmas in college. I was going to get my own wrapping paper, and all the presents that were for me would be in the same paper, and it kind of show my independent life. 29 years later, we still have a little bit of that paper that we're trying to use. So anyway, the kind of the next episode in the story begins in January 2003. We happened to be in a fabric store, and they had Christmas fabric on clearance. And I don't remember whether it was my partner or me who had the idea first, but somebody said, if we bought some of this really cheap winter-themed fabric now, we could make some gift bags. We could get it done by next Christmas. And then instead of all the wrapping paper and where's the tape and cutting it to the right size, we could just slide the gift in a bag. And then we could tie it shut with a ribbon. Look, here's rolls of ribbon. We bought 2 rolls, red and green, of narrow satin ribbon. We've never bought any more of that. We have some disposable ribbon that's come our way over the years, but you can use the disposable ribbons 3 or 4 times too. So there's plenty of ribbon, and there's plenty of these bags, because what happened, as it turned out, by the end of the year, I was pregnant with my son, and I was was due on December 28th. So we weren't traveling for Christmas. We were going to mail gifts to everyone. And so I sat there sewing gift bags and making them the right size for the things that I wanted to wrap. And we sent all our gifts in the mail, wrapped in the cloth bags. And all the relatives said, wow, what a great idea. And so the next year, we got some of our bags back with different gifts in them. And we got some new bags that people had made. And it just spread from there. And so now we have dozens of these bags, and every year we get a different assortment. So when we're packing up after Christmas morning, there's still, people have used some of the disposable stuff and we've sorted out to see whether it's reusable or not. But then there are all these fabric bags. And typically we will gather with my parents and my brother at Christmas at somebody's house. So it's become a rule that when you're packing up your gifts to take home, you take some of the cloth bags and use them to wrap your gifts, protect anything fragile, fill in the cracks in your suitcase, so that next December when you're wrapping your gifts, you have plenty of bags. Otherwise, they'd all wind up with the person who hosted. So it's been a really great system for us, and I've packed like a fake Christmas box, basically, to show you how it works. So let me turn on the ceiling light and move the iPad around and try not to screw up. Okay, let's see. I'll move my chair and put the iPad on it. And can I turn the camera around here? Yeah. Okay, here's my box. So if I were mailing it, of course, I would have taped it shut, and it really would be best to avoid single-use plastic by using a paper packing tape. Sometimes I have that and sometimes I don't. And if I were mailing this, I would have cushioned things with empty egg cartons and crumpled up scrap paper. But let's pretend this is a box that I left as a no contact drop off on someone's porch. So here we have some gifts wrapped in different ways. And our basic approach has been the bag that you wrap around the gift and then you secure it, in this case with a pipe cleaner rather than a ribbon. So let's see. If I untwist the little looped up pipe cleaner, this is not as easy to do with one hand as I thought. Then this bag is really wrapped up, providing some extra cushioning for a slightly fragile gift.
And I'm sure the bags are much easier to deal with when you have two hands because you're not holding the camera with the other one.
I did not rehearse this holding the camera. So here's a little turtle. And this would be a regifted item. I've had this on the bookcase for many years. If I ever get tired of it, I can give it to someone else. Now, the way we've often made tags for the gift bags is to take a scrap of gift wrap, a piece that's not big enough to wrap something else in. And you write your information on it and then cut a slit that's the same width as the ribbon, so that when you untie the ribbon cleverly with one hand, you can slide the tag off and untie the ribbon the rest of the way. And so the other main approach with these bags is to bunch it up at the top and just tie it off. Here we have some sesame sticks from the co-op. This is one of my father's favorite snacks, so he gets those every year. One of the first sizes of bags we made was for a CD. So this one is actually holding a CD, but we don't give CDs as often as we did anymore. Not everybody is still using CDs. And so we have a lot of bags that size, and we've found that they can be used for other things. This is one that one of our friends made, which has a flip top. And the funny thing is, when he gave us a CD in this bag, he was wearing a shirt that he had made for himself out of the same material, and this was made from a scrap. And it actually took us a while after we had opened the gift to notice that it was the same fabric. So this CD bag is also the right size for fine card games, such as Seven Dragons. Available from Games Unlimited, which is a local business. If you're wrapping something soft, like a t-shirt, you can tie it up in a bunch like this. Oh, my image rotated on you, sorry. You can wrap a book flat and tie the ribbon around it. And then over the years, we've branched out into making some bags with a drawstring like this one. And you can also buy gift bags that are actually professionally made and sometimes of fancy material. And those will typically have a drawstring as well. And sometimes they come with a tag, a gift for you. And then these paper gift bags that everyone seems to use, there's dozens of them. No matter what we do, we have more of these gift bags than we could possibly reuse. So we have to kind of winnow it down on a regular basis. And the tissue paper can be reused too. And then I actually have one here that we've used a couple times. My daughter had made something in preschool that came home in this bag that says "Happy Holidays, Love, Lydia E." Just to make sure that like we didn't get the gift that Lydia L had made for her parents, I guess. And then I added, I don't know if you can see this, but I had added "For Daddy" on it. And we just used it again. And now it's when there's a gift for Daddy from Lydia and it fits in this bag. We don't even have to use tissue paper in the top. We can just use another gift bag flat as a piece of fabric. So all of these approaches have worked out to the point that we haven't bought any gift wrap in years and years. And I also have a bigger example here. If you have something really large and awkward, you can just wrap it in one of these. Now, this is something you're not going to acquire this year, but and I hope that maybe never again will we have the office holiday parties with these plastic tablecloths. But you know how you would go to the office holiday party and they would have that plastic tablecloth and at the end they would want to throw it away. But if you wipe it off and let it dry thoroughly, you can fold it up and put it away with your gift wrap. And then when you have something really big and awkward, you just kind of fold this around it and you can pull it off. You don't even have to tape it or anything. So my present here is my stash of gift wrap. We have a box of ribbons and bows, which I can't open with one hand, excuse me. And I did not do any organizing of this box in advance. So this is just what it looked like when we put it away last year. It could use a little organizing, but if you at least take a strip of cardboard and twine bits of ribbon around it, then they don't get quite so tangled. So somebody gave us all these ribbons in a set one year, and we've been trying to use that up. But the fabric ribbons, like this one, or especially this narrow kind, this piece, where's my camera? I'm not holding this well. This piece is a kind of a short one, but this kind of narrow satin ribbon is really great for tying gifts, and it works year after year. So then in the main box, this is the Christmas gift wrap, and we also have a birthday gift wrap box now. In here we have two subfolders. There's I'm sorry about the shaky camera. This is the tissue paper. And we just have all of our sheets of tissue paper that have come in the infernal paper gift bags. And we try and keep just the nicest stuff to reuse. And then we have a bunch of Christmas cards and gift wrap scraps and tags, things that we can use to put the tag to say who the gift is for. So here we have just one left of these stickers that come free in the mail from charities. We have a bookmark of Jolly Holiday Wishes that is blank. This could still be used as a gift tag. And then sometimes when you get a Christmas card that has a pretty front, you can cut that off if there's nothing written on the inside and use it as a tag. If you're careful where you write on it, you use the whole card front as a gift tag one time, and then you might cut out an individual snowflake or something and make a tag out of that. And little pieces of wrapping paper that we can cut up to make tags with the slit to slide over the ribbon, like I was showing. And then in the box, we have our cloth gift bags, we have paper gift bags and wrapping paper and whatever we have that's Christmassy, although that looks like a birthday. No, that's his happy holidays. And here's another of those tablecloths. So that's the stash, and it's really worked out well for us to have such a variety of materials, and yet to be able to feel like we always have plenty of stuff to wrap the gifts with. We always can make the gifts look pretty and festive and everybody's happy, and it costs almost nothing. And there's very little trash afterward. I mean, here we are, we live in Squirrel Hill, and so most of our neighbors are Jewish. There's not a lot of Christmas garbage going out. But the day after Christmas, you can tell some people had a big celebration, and our house, it's pretty much just our normal amount of trash. So I guess that's my spiel. Any questions?
Okay, in the chat, there was a little, I should note, a little follow-up from Dianne about that Native American themed birthday party, and it turns out that she had in fact gone to a local Native American tribe or group, let's see, yes, reached out and consulted with a local Native American group and asking about the regalia she made, and after which they were welcomed and attended an event wearing them. And it was a wonderful experience of learning and bonding with a new community. So as is typical with Dianne, she went above and beyond. So thank you, Dianne, for filling us in on that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I didn't explain that fully. I mean, that's, you know, I'm just trying to stay within the time conframes, and there's always
well, you did an amazing job. So, so yeah, I mentioned that gift bags, again, harking back to the first talk with Cozy about Buy Nothing, and my remarks that it would be really nice to see stuff move from more affluent to less affluent communities, and things like pretty gift bags, which I've never bought once in my life, but seem to have a bunch because things come our way and students give meal gifts and kids birthdays and things back in the day. So we have a bunch, and I said, this is stupid, why am I storing these? And so I kept a few, and the rest I took down to the Braddock Free Store back in the day when people could hang out outside the trailer there, and they were snapped up by people who were just hanging out. And so
yeah, because a gift bag costs about $1 typically. I mean, you see them in the dollar store as individual $1 items, and then you pay another $1 for the package of tissue paper. And it's just what you have to do. And so I think a lot of people do, but that really adds up.
Yeah, and there is contact information for Diane's Our Children, Our Earth enterprise. And they are also a source of games. You mentioned Games Unlimited, which is a local game store for the D&D crowd and board games and all other kinds of games here in Squirrel Hill. But also Dianne pointed out that she has games as well in her store. Oh, and there's another thing, a little blanket. That
I forgot another option I wanted to show here. I had shown this rolled up t-shirt with the ribbon tied around it, but actually The gift wrap here is not a bag. This is a tea towel that's folded around the shirt. So it's 2 gifts in one. Not only do you get a vintage Barack Obama t-shirt, but you get this Christmas themed tea towel. And I don't know about you, but a tea towel themed to a specific holiday is something that I would never buy for myself. But if somebody's given me one, it can be kind of fun to have the holiday appropriate towels that you get out at the holiday.
There you go. And Carla reminds me that we used to wrap gifts in Sunday newspaper comics, colorful. And sometimes, I think I would sometimes wrap things in the weekday comics and like mess around with magic markers for a while till I moved on to the next thing.
My brother did a long bicycle tour several years ago, and he bought a lot of, more than several years ago, I guess it was 2003 and 4. So he bought a bunch of map books, and then afterward he used map pages as gift wrap for a long time. So it was really interesting. You'd open your gift, and then you would also have a map of rural Iowa.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we probably should move along, unless, is there anything else that yeah, so games. The name of Becca's blog is the Earthlings Handbook. And it is linked in the Marin's List event description, so as always. So I do have a link to that called the Earthlings Handbook something. So the link is there. So having thank you so much, Becca, for sharing all those amazing creative ideas. And I think now you're going to have the quandary of what to do with the old wrapping paper that you replaced with the cloth bags. But if civilization collapses, there's always, kindling. Okay. Whoops. And you're muted, Becca.
Sorry. If you take your old wrapping paper, that especially if you have pieces that are not big enough to wrap a gift in, cut it in strips, and you give this to a child with like a yogurt lid or something full of white glue. They can make a link chain, and you just you make a loop and put a little glue, and you put another piece through it and make a loop. And so I started doing this when I was about 4, and I realized now that was a way for my mom to keep me out of her hair while she was baking Christmas cookies and stuff. But it was fun, and it was festive, and you don't have to store the chains from year to year because they're fun to make. And if your paper is not too glossy or metallic or anything, they're compostable.
There you go. Always a way to reuse most things. So anyway, all of these things have been, well, except for the Buy Nothing project, this has all been different things. We have that are projects, people or projects related to Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic. And the Recycle This Pittsburgh that Sabrina was the main moving force on, and various advocacy efforts. And it's been a really great group to work with, and we've seen some positive results come out of it, and that is very cool. And so to close us out, local physician and activist, Dr. Ed Wrenn, and also formerly the first husband of the Pittsburgh School Board, the first man. His wife Linda was the head of the school board for several years. And he has been thinking about that, and thinking about the way that working with PASUP, there's another organization, the Pennsylvania Association for Sustainable Agriculture, which I've been calling PASA for decades, and now suddenly there's PASUP with the same number of S's. So we tried, when we were doing all that naming discussion, we tried to come up with another S so that it could be obviously spelled PASUP, and that you would be passing up plastics. So you could pronounce it PASUP, you could pronounce it PASUP, but we like to think about you're passing up plastics. Like, oh, there's some plastic tableware there at this event that I'm about to eat at. I think I'll use the fork and cup and plate that I keep in my bag. Instead, I'm going to pass up that plastic. So, and Dianne and Ed are like the other people who have been doing that for a long time. So we have a quality bunch of people here who carry our dishes. Anyway, and Dianne, of course, carries dishes that are also samples for what she's purveying. Often they're made of like bamboo. So anyway, I'd like to introduce Ed, and he can close us out with some reflections on and sort of story and feelings about it all.
Okay, I'll try to make it quick. So we've been talking about how our culture of excessive consumption and too much waste may not lead to happiness. So that begs the question of what does bring happiness? And the answer is simple. Happiness comes from being a part of Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic. So I want to open with a couple of quotes about happiness. And one is, happiness is when what you think, what you say, what you do are in harmony. And that's what happens with me with Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic. And another, and that's from Mahatma Gandhi. And the next quote is, a good life is not a life without problems. A good life is a life with good problems. And I'm going to make the case that plastic is the best problem that I can think about. And the reason plastic is a great problem is that it's a very accessible problem. On a small scale, all you got to do is not use one styrofoam coffee cup. Say at the restaurant, no plastic please, so you're not going to get, one set of plastic, and then you've already made a contribution. And then when just even one person continues to make a habit of this, let's say if you're in the habit of drinking coffee out of a styrofoam coffee cup at work, and maybe you do it 2 or 3 times a day, at the end of the year, if you bring your own coffee cup, that's about, it could be 500 styrofoam coffee cups. And then if more and more people do this, just think there's mountains of styrofoam coffee cups that aren't used, and it could apply to plastic water bottles, etc. So as far as plastics being a great problem, opportunities for dealing with this can include individual actions such as that. And also, if you're doing this at work or at restaurants, you can be an example to other people. So you already have become a leader if just one person realizes that you are making this choice and thinks, well, maybe I should do this also. And then if you start becoming a leader at the level of an organization or at your work, then you could maybe lead to your company having a policy that, we're not going to buy you guys styrofoam cups anymore. Maybe we'll buy coffee cups with the name of our company on them or something like that. And you may realize, as I did, well, let me just tell you quickly my story of this. I just was pissed off at people when I realized how much waste was going on, and what was I going to do about this? And I happened to show up at one of the salons, and I met Pat Budemeyer and kind of vented about all this stuff. So she said, well, would you like to be in the planning for what was at that time called What's Up? And I said, yes. And then it's just, honestly, I've become so interested in this that I'm going to be retiring from my clinical practice at the beginning of the year and focusing on being an activist. And also I've realized that part of the problem plastic is that there's lots of people who want to use less plastic, but what are your alternatives? If you go to the store, it's almost impossible to walk out of a grocery store, et cetera, without all sorts of plastic wrapped items. So one of the great things about plastic as a problem is that there are so many opportunities to innovate, to get us away from a plastic dependent society. And the business that I'm involved in, it's a secret right now, but it involves alternatives to using a lot of plastic. And then you realize that it's great for individuals to stop using less plastic, or groups, but then what about all those other people that aren't buying into this? And is it fair that we should have to use less plastic when other people cavalierly are using a lot of plastic? And so that brings you to the realm of politics. And I've been involved in Democratic Party politics for a while. And so another way to address the problem of plastics is to get involved in politics and support candidates who care about this, help to develop policy proposals to address it. And other ways to get involved are to start helping to educate people by putting on forums such as we are doing, to get involved with educators and trying to figure out how to teach students and get students involved in this, because boy, when you can get students excited about something, then you really can get something done. You could get involved in, say you're you could work for a company and you could be the sustainability marketing manager. For example, one of the people I've met through all of this is Phyllis, what's her name? She's a sustainability manager for Highmark Health. That's her job. So if you're a young person or even an old person that still has gas in, well, that's not the word, gas in the tank. Let's say sunlight for your solar panels, maybe. But anyway, if you're looking to start a career or change a career, there's tremendous opportunities available in alternatives to plastic. And if you've watched The Graduate, there was a scene in there in which somebody says to Dustin Hoffman, "I just have one word for you, and that word is plastic." And I'm going to say I have two words for you, and that is plastics alternatives, because I think there's just a tremendous opportunity for people to innovate and to work in this field of product development, entrepreneurship. And there's also the opportunity to shift investments away from businesses that, especially fossil fuel businesses, but in particular in businesses that provide alternatives to plastic. And that could be products, but it also could be systems that involve using less plastic, such as focusing on reusable takeout containers, et cetera, things like that. And so what is PASUP, you may ask? And it's a lot of things, and I'm going to say it's a support group. It's a flexible, rapid response force. It's an idea amplifier. It's a calling card. For me, as an individual, I might say, I want to talk to maybe my state senator, Jay Costa, which is actually what I did at one point. And if it's just me that says, I really hate plastics, I'm not too, I wonder what we can do about it. But if I say, I'm Ed Wrenn, I'm on the steering committee of Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic, that gives me a lot more credibility. So it's a calling card. It's a Pittsburghers Against Single-Use Plastic, and I'm going to say the Salon also is a multi-level marketing scheme for good, because just like me, I just went into a salon and came out of it with a mission, and I think we have the potential to inspire many more people to go off and make this their own and do their own thing as far as plastic reduction and other environmental things. PASUP is an amoeba. We're sort of a somewhat amorphous organism that kind of moves towards where it needs to go in order to get things done. PASUP is a mythological many-headed hydra. We have as many heads as we have people who are involved, and each of those heads can go off and do their thing, and it's hard to stop us. You can chop off one head and here's another one. Let's see, we're a pack of wolves which can hunt separately or together. We're a small country in the United Nations of sustainability. And one thing I've found is there are so many people across the entire world that are bringing their own sensibility and experiences and motivation to bear on plastics and other environmental problems. That's one of the great joys of participating in this, is connecting with so many other wonderful people such as yourselves. We're a startup incubator. We're a scientific society, because another aspect of plastics is all the research that people are doing on the adverse effects of plastic on an individual and community scale. We're a big welcoming tent. We're a script just starting to be written. And one thing that I've just found out that's wonderful is that we're an entree for conservatives to become more concerned about the environment. Because, you know, if we start with things like, oh, fracking, or even cracker plant, or global warming, there's a lot of pushback against even bringing this subject up with a lot of conservatives in the country. But I had a wonderful experience recently in which I have a very conservative physician friend that I've been trying to learn more about and communicate with. And I informed him about my role in PASUP and about our meeting, which, did we say our meeting is on December the 13th? But it's not a meeting. Diane says it should be called an event because we're sick of meetings. But at any rate, so I sent him this, and his quote, this is from his email to me. He said, "I am certainly a doubter on man-made global warming, but I do believe that plastic is probably one of the worst things for the environment. I always find it amazing that some of the biggest global warming fanatics, usually young people, have no problems drinking bottled water, particularly when the USA probably has the best overall tap water quality in the world." So I was trying to figure out the opposite of what a wedge issue is. And someone suggested that, maybe Pat Budemeyer, that maybe the word is it's a bridge issue, because it brings people into the conversation, and from plastics, maybe we might even get them to be more interested in how maybe global warming is a thing, or fracking, maybe should have appropriate regulation. So it's something that a lot of people are grossed out by, and can bring a lot of people into the conversation. So I've just about talked enough. I'm going to end this with two final quotes. One of them is from Tina Fey, that I love Tina Fey. And she says, well, the other thing about PASUP is we are action-oriented. We've been action-oriented from the beginning. And so the quote is, "Whatever the problem, be part of the solution. Don't just sit around pointing out obstacles." And the last quote is, "If someone offers you an amazing opportunity," which I'm going to say being part of PASUP is an amazing opportunity, "but you are not sure you can do it, say yes. Then learn how to do it later." And that is by Sir Richard Branson. And so I hope that you'll, if you have the time, join us at least on the level of maybe attending an event, or working on this issue on your own, because plastics makes me very happy as a problem. That's all from me.
Well, thank you, Ed, for, well, among other things, finding a way to feel good about plastics without actually liking them. And there are certainly situations where plastic is the best tool for the job. It's just not nearly as many as it's currently being used for. So that was very inspiring, and you have captured a lot of things that many of us who are right in the thick of it hadn't even thought about. So thank you for sharing that. Let's see, are there
for the opportunity.
any particular questions? Yeah,
Maren?
people are appreciating your insights and
Maren?
looking at it. Yes.
I would like to add, Edward, my daughter is a marine biologist in Australia.
Oh, wow.
There are 15,000 miles of plastic. She dives the reef, it's dying.
Wow.
She works on parasites and fish. Every fish she opens has some sort of plastic in it. She gives us 50 years if we don't act now. The aquatic life is critical to our life. And I know, Maren, I must have mentioned that already to you at some point. So whatever we can do, I would like to join in. That's all I wanted to say. And everyone remember the movie, The Graduate? What did Dustin Hoffman say? Plastics.
No, it was someone who said it to him.
That was said to him.
Yeah. It was said to him, and Ed mentioned that too.
I just thought that was a funny note to end on. Thank you.
Well, let me just ask you, what do you do if something is overwhelming? And the answer is take it one whelm at a time. So just find something you want to work on, get at it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey there. Hi, Becca, daughter.
So, all right. Let's see if there's any. And once again, our event is on the 13th. Dianne put the Facebook event in the chat. Thank you. I have a link to the Facebook page on Maren's list, but the event wasn't built yet. I will fix that up. I do have the last Salon video online, so email me with Salon in the subject line if you'd like the link to that. Yeah, everybody loves your crazy analogies. And
I just read Mark Dixon's comment. Thanks for that, Mark.
Yeah, this was an Ed talk.
That wasn't my joke. I was laughing.
I'm sorry. Sean's joke. Okay.
Yeah, Sean. I gotta give props to Sean.
But it's not a joke.
Yeah. And no, Ed at one point talked about one of the things that you can do as an individual is when you're going into a restaurant, say no plastic, please. But I wanted to point out that that's also the name of a local organization. Well, it's a bigger movement than just local, isn't it, Sean? Sean, are you still here, Sean?
I don't think so. I think it's
okay.
It's
anyway,
it's part of the humane.
It's local,
action,
Maren. It was started locally.
Okay, yeah, it's part of Humane Action Pittsburgh, which is an animal rights organization, and with the observation that what most plastic winds up doing is harming animals that are innocent bystanders to this human experiment we're indulging in. And the link for that is in the chat. It is noplasticplease.net. And they have been going around talking to restaurants and other businesses to try to help them discourage them from using disposable single-use stuff, especially plastic. Yes, and Sabrina, who is, I think, no longer on the call, but we saw her earlier, is the coordinator of No Plastic Please. And so she's got her arms in both of these organizations, as does Sean, has been involved in PASUP as well. And so, yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions or comments, or if we want to bring the official talks and discussion portion of the salon to a close and then enjoy informal conversation over dinner, which is what we would be doing here at my house if there weren't a stupid pandemic on. All right, I will not hearing anything.